Chapter 334. After Yi Tianyun was sent flying, he once again burst out with terrifying power and rushed toward the red dragon fiercely. After equipping the phoenix wings, Yi Tianyun's speed suddenly increased, turning into a red light rushing toward the red dragon. He didn't use any weapons or techniques. If he had used other techniques or weapons, it would have been much easier to suppress this red dragon. He didn't want a corpse, but a living one. To increase the success rate of capturing it, the best way was to beat this red dragon up. He just needed to injure it a little. There was no need to hit it too hard. After all, once it was subdued, it wouldn't recover. It wouldn't be the same after being captured. Roar! The red dragon roared and spewed extreme flames at Yi Tianyun, trying to burn him into charcoal. Yi Tianyun stretched out his hand and activated the Absorbing Star's great technique, immediately absorbing the flames and turning them into experience points. However, the Absorbing Star's great technique couldn't completely absorb the attack, and a lot of flames still spewed toward him. He didn't care at all. He activated the Shen Tian divine art to the maximum and slammed into the flames. The flames wrapped around him, but they didn't have any effect. They only consumed a bit of his spiritual power and the protective shield on the surface of his body. With such a strong defense, mere flames couldn't affect him at all. Get down! Yi Tianyun ran through the flames and charged toward the red dragon again, punching it. Boom! The red dragon was beaten to the ground again. When he stepped on it, he used the Absorbing Star's great technique and began to absorb the spiritual power in its body. During this time, he also began to capture it to see if he could succeed this time. Soon, a beam of light enveloped the red dragon, trying to subdue it. The red dragon swayed a few times, trying to break free. However, this time, Yi Tianyun was attached to it, so it couldn't resist at all. It could only watch as the light enveloped it. When Yi Tianyun thought he was about to succeed, an angry roar came from afar. "It's you!" General Long wielded the red dragon spear and charged over. When he heard the red dragon's voice, he felt that something was wrong. As he charged over, he saw Yi Tianyun. Ding! Capture failed. Obtained 100 grasping proficiency. I failed again. Yi Tianyun furrowed his brows. It seemed like the relationship between the red dragon and General Long was too good, resulting in his loyalty being too high. Capturing him was too difficult. Unless Shi Feng's capturing skill was extremely high, it would be extremely difficult to capture an undamaged monster. Now, even if they managed to injure the red dragon, it would still be difficult to capture it. If the red dragon's injuries were a little more severe, perhaps the chances of capturing it would be much higher. At this time, General Long had already charged over. He swung his spear fiercely towards Yi Tianyun, completely ignoring the crimson dragon under Yi Tianyun's feet. He continued to charge forward, and wherever the red light passed, a deep trench was carved into the ground. Die! General Long's eyes burned with rage. Previously, Yi Tianyun had escaped, which made him lose face. Now that he saw Yi Tianyun again, how could he not be angry? He couldn't wait to kill Yi Tianyun with his own hands. Go! Yi Tianyun didn't hesitate. With a step, he quickly retreated to the side. General Long still flew over. The tyrannical red dragon spear emitted a blood dragon phantom. In an instant, he reached the realm of being one with the spear. His combat power instantly exploded to the level of more than 30 million. Scram! Trash! When General Long charged over, because the crimson dragon's body was blocking in front of him, he swung his red dragon spear and sent the crimson dragon flying. The crimson dragon crashed heavily into a giant tree. Several wounds appeared on its huge body, and it looked like it was dripping with blood. The crimson dragon let out a sorrowful cry. It didn't expect that its master wouldn't care about it and would even send it flying. General Long didn't even look over and continued to chase after Yi Tianyun. In his eyes, there was only Yi Tianyun. Everything else had nothing to do with him. You don't even care about your pet. Yi Tianyun flew in front, escaping from General Long's pursuit. None of your business. General Long snorted coldly. In an instant, he increased his speed again, closing the distance between them by a large margin. Of course not. On the contrary, I should be thanking you. Yi Tianyun smiled and increased his speed. With a flash, He disappeared into the fog. Boom! General Long's spear pierced through the fog. However, it hit the giant tree and not Yi Tianyun's body. Damn it! Where is he? General Long angrily pulled out his spear. His cold eyes swept to the side, but he couldn't find Yi Tianyun's figure. He was still trapped in the disorienting Grand Formation. Using the disorienting Grand Formation, Yi Tianyun could easily escape. Even if he had to face a void spirit stage expert, he wouldn't be afraid. Unless he ran too slowly, it wouldn't be a problem for him to escape. Roar. At this time, a roar came from the Crimson Dragon, attracting General Long's attention. He found that Yi Tianyun was standing beside his pet. What are you shouting for? Your master treats you like a pet. He doesn't care about your life or death. You might as well follow me. Follow me, and you'll have a good life. After concealing himself, Yi Tianyun returned to the Crimson Dragon's side. He used pet capture proficiency and began to trap the Crimson Dragon. Although the Crimson Dragon couldn't speak, its intelligence wasn't low. When it heard Yi Tianyun's words, it actually gave up resisting. Then, with a ding, a melodious sound was heard. Successfully caught pet Crimson Dragon, gained 500,000 EXP, capture proficiency 1000 point. After successfully catching the Crimson Dragon became a lot more obedient and completely obeyed his orders. At this time, General Long has already rushed over, and the domineering long spear pierced towards Yi Tianyun again. Yi Tianyun was already prepared. He immediately used the Ice Divine Bow and spent 5,000 crazy points to use Frost Rage. Go! Yi Tianyun's eyes were cold. He gently loosened the bowstring in his hand, and then a thick ice arrow was shot towards General Long. Get out of my way. General Long fiercely stabbed forward and collided with the thick ice arrow. Bang! The thick ice arrow exploded in the surroundings and froze the entire area. The next moment, General Long broke through the cold air and stabbed towards Yi Tianyun. The effect of Frost Rage on General Long was limited. It only slowed down General Long's speed, it didn't cause any damage. General Long is a bit too overbearing. The heaven-level armor on his body is quite hard. Chapter 335. What's going on? Where's the Red Dragon? General Long roared, Red Dragon, come here. He couldn't sense the Red Dragon's condition. He was the only one left, and he seemed a little lonely. General Long had brought a group of people over, but now he was the only one left. Don't shout like an idiot. Your pet is mine now. Yi Tianyun's voice came from the side. It was so ethereal. Whoosh. A red light pierced through, but it hit the giant tree instead of Yi Tianyun's body. Impossible, how could the Red Dragon be yours? I've tamed it for so many years. It's impossible for it to follow you. General Long's anger grew. He was so angry that he was about to explode. He had spent so much to raise a dragon, but in the end, it betrayed him. How could he not be angry? What a joke. Who told you to treat your pet like that before? You abandoned your pet. It definitely won't follow you. Only when you treat your pet as a friend will it be loyal to you, fool. Yi Tianyun's voice came again. His tone was full of sarcasm. Friend. Don't joke around. You want a beast as a friend? Only an idiot like you would think like that. General Long said angrily, Red Dragon, if you don't come out, don't blame me for being rude. General Long took out a flute. It was a very small flute. It was only the length of a finger. He put it in his mouth and began to play it. Accompanied by a sharp sound that spread through the forest, the Crimson Dragon's painful roar could be heard. It rushed out of the fog at the side and fell to the ground. The divine rune on its body was flickering. It was obviously a restraining type of divine rune. Once the flute was played, the restraining type of divine rune would be activated, causing the Red Dragon to be in extreme pain. It was obvious that they relied on this restraining type of divine rune to subdue this divine beast. What's going on? How could there be a restraining divine rune on its body? Yi Tianyun frowned and immediately shouted, Red Dragon, come back. After the Crimson Dragon got up, it turned around and ran towards Yi Tianyun, disappearing into the mist again. When it came to his side, Yi Tianyun kept the Crimson Dragon in his pet space. He didn't believe that it would work. I didn't expect the red dragon to listen to you. Are you a beast tamer? But even a beast tamer shouldn't be able to tame it so quickly. General Long saw that Yi Tianyun had called out to the red dragon and returned. After enduring the pain, he did not choose to return. Instead, he returned to Yi Tianyun's side. This shocked him. He had thought that the red dragon had only been captured or forcefully suppressed. He didn't expect that it had really been subdued. This was his mount. Without his mount, it was equivalent to losing his weapon. You don't need to know that. Yi Tianyun didn't explain too much to him. I don't believe it. General Long blew the flute again, and the sound spread throughout the forest. Accompanied by the sound of the flute and a flash of light, the crimson dragon was ejected from the pet space. It lay on the ground in pain and roared endlessly, immediately revealing their location. This stunned Yi Tianyun. He didn't expect that even if he kept it in the pet space, it wouldn't have any effect at all. It would still be forcefully dragged out. Unless he snatched the flute or undid the divine rune on the crimson dragon, it was impossible for him to do that. It was impossible for him to do that now. No matter which option he chose, he had to kill General Long first. Good lad, so you're there. Die. General Long held the crimson dragon spear in his hand and aimed at him. The blood dragon phantom appeared again, and two streams of dragon power that he had long prepared blasted towards him. Roar. Like a real giant dragon, it roared and attacked, completely ignoring the crimson dragon lying there. Damn it. Yi Tianyun wouldn't be as heartless as General Long. He quickly equipped the giant sword and stood in front of the crimson dragon. He aimed at the two streams of dragon power and slashed forward. Titan's wrath. Boom. A huge sword light pierced through the air and smashed into the two whizzing dragon powers. The two extreme powers exploded in an instant, and a loud sound soared into the sky, setting off an astonishing airwave that swept in all directions. In this dusty area, two streams of weakened dragon power suddenly passed through the airwave and swept over, crashing into Yi Tianyun's body. Boom. Yi Tianyun was sent flying and crashed into a giant tree. The terrifying impact penetrated the entire giant tree, and he finally stopped after smashing through two giant trees. Let's see if you don't die this time. You're still standing in front of an animal. Looks like you're really an animal. General Long laughed and quickly flew over. When he reached the crimson dragon, he suddenly kicked the crimson dragon with a terrifying force. Boom. The crimson dragon was sent flying and let out a miserable cry. How dare you betray me? When this is over, I'll teach you a lesson. General Long was really angry. If it wasn't for the fact that the matter wasn't over yet, he really wanted to stab the crimson dragon and give it a good punishment. Tianyun. Yi Qingxian hurried over and saw that Yi Tianyun had already stood up, unscathed. His defense was already shockingly strong, and the power of the attack was greatly reduced, so the impact on his body was relatively limited. However, the shocking impact had sent him flying. He wasn't injured, but he was a little embarrassed. I'm fine. Yi Tianyun looked at General Long and said in a low voice, in my opinion, you're worse than an animal. The crimson dragon has always been loyal to you, but you treat a loyal pet like this. Fine, if that's the case, then I'll personally kill you, a piece of trash that's worse than an animal. Did I hear that right? General Long was stunned for a moment, then he immediately laughed. You want to kill me? You were defeated by me before, and you're still defeated by me now, and you'll still be defeated by me in the future. No, you won't have a chance later. Before he finished speaking, General Long had already rushed over. Without hesitation, he raised the long spear in his hand and stabbed it again, wanting to pierce a hole in Yi Tianyun's body. Qingxian, step aside, I'll deal with him. Yi Tianyun's eyes were filled with determination, and a few rays of cold light flashed in his eyes. You! Yi Qingxian was anxious, but when she saw that Yi Tianyun had made up his mind, she could only quickly leave the place and hide in the fog. Yi Tianyun's cultivation was far from General Long's. Even if he activated his berserk mode, it would still be extremely difficult to deal with him. His opponent's equipment was excellent, his level of martial arts was astonishing, and his cultivation was even more explosive. However, he had already saved up a value that he had been longing to save up before 100,130 sin point. Chapter 336. He had finally accumulated 100,000 sin points. It took him a lot of effort. If he could get sin points by killing ants, he would have already filled it up. Not to mention 100,000, he could even get 1 million sin points. Yi Tianyun quickly opened the sin shop. There were still 2 sets of equipment on it. There was no extra equipment. He didn't know how to unlock the rest of the equipment. Evil Dragon Equipment Set requires level 30. After equipping, the wearer can transform into a huge evil dragon up to 100 meters long at any time. All strength increased by 10 times, defense increased by 20 times, flying effect and devouring ability. Price: 100,000 sin points. Swordsman Equipment Set requires level 30. After equipping, the wearer can learn to control sword formations at any time. All swords within a radius of 10 miles are under the control of the wearer. Up to 10,000 swords can be controlled by the wearer. Flying effect is added. Price: 100,000 sin points. There were 2 top-tier equipment sets, but he didn't know which one to choose. If he had to face a lot of enemies, he would undoubtedly choose the Swordsman Equipment Set. On the other hand, if he had to fight one-on-one, he would definitely choose the Evil Dragon Equipment Set. Exchange for the Evil Dragon Equipment Set. Ding. Deducted 100,000 sin points, successfully exchanged for the Evil Dragon Equipment Set. Immediately, the Evil Dragon Equipment Set fell into his inventory. It looked pitch black and seemed to have an evil aura surging up, but it was even more domineering. So this is the Evil Dragon Equipment Set, very good. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. Although it was only level 30 equipment, the effect it showed was probably equivalent to a heaven-grade equipment, right? Of course, this was only the armor he wore, it did not include weapons. This meant that he could still equip weapons, and he could still use more power. Idiot, have you given up on struggling? Then go to hell. General Long saw that Yi Tianyun didn't move, he laughed loudly, raised the red dragon spear in his hand, and stabbed fiercely. A red light pierced through, trying to pierce through him. When the red dragon saw this scene, it quickly struggled to fly over to help Yi Tianyun block the spear. Even Yi Qingxian, who was hiding on the side, couldn't help but shout. She thought that Yi Tianyun would have some kind of move, but she didn't expect him to stand still. Equip the Evil Dragon Set. In the next second, the Evil Dragon Equipment Set appeared on his body. Just like that, a set of shiny, pitch-black equipment appeared on his body. There were layers of pitch-black dragon scales on them. These were not fake dragon scales, but the scales of a real evil dragon. From head to toe, he was covered in a thick layer of armor that stuck closely to his body, outlining his sturdy physique. Following that, a pitch-black aura surged out in all directions, corroding the surrounding environment. The reason why it was called an evil dragon was because it was sufficiently evil. Just the evil aura it emitted was enough to corrode everything in its surroundings. If one's cultivation was too low, they would be injured after being enveloped by this evil energy. At this moment, the red dragon's spear fiercely pierced towards him. He reached out and grabbed the spear's spearhead. With a clang, Yi Tianyun was forced back. However, the spear didn't pierce into him at all. It was completely blocked outside. However, the momentum was too strong, and he slid backwards at an extremely fast speed. Finally, he crashed into a huge tree. With a bang, he broke the huge tree. However, he was still in his original position, tightly holding onto the spearhead. Moreover, the momentum had already been dissipated. How can this be? General Long was shocked by Yi Tianyun's appearance. He suddenly put on a set of equipment and even managed to block his attack. Get down here. Yi Tianyun suddenly pulled back his spear and threw him to the ground. Boom. The violent force smashed down, and General Long was smashed to the ground along with his spear, creating a huge crater. A large area of the ground was smashed, and dense cracks spread out like a spider web. When he was smashed down, General Long groaned and spat out a mouthful of blood. The power of this smash was too strong. It was a full 20 times increase in strength. It was extremely overbearing. At this time, under the activation of Crazy Damage Mode, his current battle power has reached as high as 43 million. This doesn't include other explosive power. He simply used his strength to smash without using any other martial arts or any other power. The heaven-defying 20 times superposition of strength, coupled with the crazy 8 times damage mode, has greatly increased his battle power. A battle power of 43 million is already stronger than General Long's strongest attack. Currently, General Long's strongest attack is made by using the Void Spirits, which is the power of the 2 dragons. His battle power is as high as 41 million. Yi Tianyun's bare hands are stronger than General Long's. This is the importance of equipment. The disparity between equipment can bring about a huge gap. There is no doubt that this set of Evil Dragon equipment is not inferior to Heaven-grade equipment, and even a little stronger. The power of Heaven-grade equipment is not bad, but the effect is certainly not as good as Yi Tianyun's. Die for me. General Long jumped up in rage. He wanted to pick up the red dragon spear again to attack Yi Tianyun, but he couldn't even drag him away. What's wrong? Didn't you eat? Yi Tianyun laughed sarcastically. After his strength superposition, he is much stronger than General Long, so playing tug-of-war with him is courting death. How can this be? How can your strength be so much stronger? Is it because of this armor? General Long felt that it was inconceivable. He felt that something was wrong just now, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. Although he couldn't say it, he could see that this heaven-defying strength is stronger than him. You don't need to know that. Yi Tianyun swung his fist and smashed it. When the fist swung, a gust of wind rolled up around the fist, and even the air vibrated. The power of this fist is too overbearing, so overbearing that even the space was slightly shaken. General Long hurriedly let go of the spear in his hand, and then waved his palm to block. How could he dare to casually receive this punch? Boom! General Long was smashed heavily, and he was sent flying. He hit a huge tree, and after continuously smashing and breaking several branches, he finally stopped. However, General Long quickly bounced up. His body trembled slightly, especially the arm that blocked the fist. Blood was already flowing down from his arm. That domineering punch had injured his arm, and most of his muscles had been broken. This power. General Long's arm trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Originally, he was brutally oppressed, but now he can suddenly crush his existence. Chapter 337. One step at a time, one footprint at a time. However, these footprints were formed by erosion. Even General Long's palm that was punched had a brand on it. The evil black gas continued to corrode his palm, giving him unbearable pain, but his cultivation was not low, so it was not much of a problem for him to resist. The most important thing was that this overbearing punch almost crippled his hand. Bastard! How dare you fight against the Netherworld Empire? Die! General Long let out a furious roar, and a burst of blood chi instantly erupted from his body. The blood dragon phantom behind him instantly doubled in size, and its entire body rapidly swelled up. Layers of dragon scales emerged from its body, and even its entire face was covered in a thick layer of dragon scales. General Long was not a member of the dragon race. He simply absorbed a lot of dragon's blood essence to be able to burst out such an amazing form. His whole body was covered with a thick layer of dragon scales, and even his palms were covered with claws, making him look no different from a dragon. His previously injured arm recovered in an instant. The dragon's strong recovery ability was immediately reflected. After completely activating the power of the bloodline in his body, his strength suddenly exploded, and his combat power skyrocketed, reaching an extremely strong peak. Huff, huff, huff. General Long gasped for breath and stared at Yi Tianyun with his bloodshot eyes, and his killing intent burst out from his body. Yi Tianyun raised his eyebrow. He forced General Long to ignite his bloodline power, and his combat power soared crazily, reaching the level of 34 million, which was weaker than Yi Tianyun's. But this is already very amazing. Just by igniting the power of his bloodline, he has already reached this level. His battle power reached more than 40 million thanks to crazy damage mode, otherwise it would be very difficult for him to surpass General Long. Sure enough, there is a huge gap between their cultivation, and if there is no multiplier, it will be impossible for him to compete with General Long. General Long, first level Void Spirit stage, Dragon form igniting blood essence, extreme rage state. You are very good. It has been a long time since I used my full strength to deal with someone. Don't worry. I will crush you to death. General Long gasped for breath, and it seems that releasing such a powerful state also caused a lot of damage to himself. Originally, when he was burning his blood essence, he would suffer a lot of damage to himself while injuring the enemy. It would take a long time for him to recover. Pinch me to death. With that strength of yours that can't even eat. Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently. Courting death. General Long roared and stamped on the ground with all his might. Boom, the ground directly exploded, and a blood dragon phantom instantly bloomed behind him. It was originally a blood dragon phantom, but now it had turned into a solid state. Similarly, a huge dragon pounced over from behind him. His power once again rose in a straight line, layer upon layer, and reached more than 40 million battle power. At this moment, General Long's strength, speed, and strength had all increased by several times, reaching a terrifying value. When the Void Spirit stage is completely released, it is a very terrifying existence. Sky Cloud. When Yi Qingxian saw this, she felt as if her heart was being squeezed tightly, making her feel as if it was about to stop. General Long's appearance was too domineering, and his power was even more domineering. Yi Qingxian, who was watching from afar, felt her scalp go numb, and her body trembled. If she were to face General Long head-on, her legs would definitely turn into jelly. This power is really too strong, much stronger than before. Yi Tianyun looked at the blood dragon's phantom shadow, which made General Long feel like a real dragon, but it was not a real dragon. A mere worm dares to pretend to be a true dragon. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with a dark light, and he sneered, I'll let you see what a real true dragon looks like. In the next moment, a dazzling black light flashed on Yi Tianyun's body, and in an instant, a huge evil dragon's head emerged from the black light. When the whole head emerged, a long dragon body emerged, and in the blink of an eye, 100 meters long dragon body emerged, covered with pitch-black scales, similar to the dragon scales on the evil dragon set. Roar. A dragon's roar reverberated through the sky, and even the entire spirit tribe forest. As soon as he flew out, Yi Tianyun twisted his huge dragon body and swung his tail at General Long. This was the real divine dragon swinging its tail. General Long was shocked by this scene, and he hurriedly swung his fist at General Long. The blood dragon phantom behind him also pounced forward, colliding with General Long's swinging tail. Bam! General Long's tail swung over, and General Long was sent flying. The blood dragon phantom behind him was smashed into pieces. General Long was sent flying, and he only stopped after smashing through a few trees. A moment later, he quickly bounced back up. He was wearing a heaven-grade armor, so his defense was naturally not weak. However, when he saw the huge evil dragon above him, he was immediately dumbfounded. He had never seen such a domineering evil dragon before. It was 100 meters long, and it was much longer than the average dragon. Yi Qingxian was also stunned by this scene. Even she was dumbfounded by the sudden transformation into a huge evil dragon. Could it be that Tianyun is from the dragon tribe? The dragon tribe was divided into two types. The first type was the ordinary giant dragons, which were the result of not evolving. Those who had truly evolved could transform into humans. Normally, it was impossible to tell that they were giant dragons. Only when they revealed their true form would they know that they were from the dragon tribe. The huge evil dragon twisted in the sky, and it was extremely eye-catching. When the spirit tribe members in the spirit tribe village saw this evil dragon, they were all dumbfounded. They had seen all kinds of dragons before, but this was definitely the first time they had seen such a huge and evil dragon. Their hearts were filled with shock as they stared blankly at the evil dragon. No, impossible. How can you be from the dragon tribe? General Long looked at the evil dragon above him in shock. Is it important whether I am from the dragon tribe or not? Yi Tianyun's voice came from the evil dragon's head. He felt that after his transformation, his strength did not change much. However, his attack range had increased significantly. Most importantly, he had gained a devouring power. Before he finished speaking, Yi Tianyun ruthlessly struck out with his palm. The huge dragon palm pressed down, and instantly slammed into General Long's head. General Long wanted to escape, but it was too late. He could only raise his hand to block the dragon palm. At the same time, the blood dragon projection appeared again. Yi Tianyun completely ignored the blood dragon projection. The dragon palm pressed down ruthlessly, and General Long was slammed into the ground. General Long was completely unable to block this domineering dragon palm. The blood dragon projection behind him was smashed into pieces. Chimpage. General Long was pressed into the ground. His eyes widened as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Even with the armor on his body, he was still severely injured. Chapter 338. Previously, he was suppressed by General Long, and now, he was ruthlessly suppressed by Yi Tianyun. After equipping the Evil Dragon equipment set, his strength had increased by a lot. These 100,000 sin points were really worth it. However, if he was still so weak after equipping the Evil Dragon equipment set, then it would be too much of a loss. Although it was only a level 30 equipment, in his opinion, it was much stronger than a heaven-grade equipment. So strong. Yi Qingxian was shocked. She never thought that Yi Tianyun was a dragon. Yi Tianyun was not a dragon in the first place. He was only transformed by the equipment set, so the meaning was completely different. Damn it. I'll kill you. General Long struggled to break free from Yi Tianyun's dragon palm, but he couldn't move at all. You want to kill me with your current strength? Yi Tianyun sneered. Unfortunately, you don't have that ability right now. In the next moment, he pressed on General Long's dragon palm, and a devouring power began to seep into General Long's body. It began to pull out all the power in General Long's body and was devoured by Yi Tianyun. 31,000 experience points, 35,000 experience points, 40,000 experience points, 39,000 experience points. The evil dragon's devouring power was similar to the Dark North divine art. It could devour all kinds of power and turn it into its own. The difference was that when he transformed into an evil dragon, he could devour more power, or in other words, a larger range. What are you doing? My power. General Long felt that his power was quickly draining away, and the state of burning his blood essence quickly calmed down. Without spiritual power, it would be difficult to sustain even the strongest power. Yi Tianyun didn't answer him, and continued to devour his spiritual power. Immediately, he thought of something. What would it feel like to circulate the Dark North divine art while in the evil dragon form? Dark North divine art. Immediately, he circulated the Dark North divine art, and a terrifying suction force was transmitted from the dragon palm, increasing the suction force by several times. 100,000 experience points, 110,000 experience points, 105,000 experience points. The experience points quickly jumped, and finally stabilized at more than 100,000 experience points. Every extraction greatly drained General Long's spiritual power, and the suction force was much stronger than before. At this rate, it wouldn't take long for General Long's spiritual power to be sucked dry. My power. General Long didn't even have the strength to speak. The spiritual power in his body was quickly sucked dry, and in the end, there was nothing left. Without his spiritual energy, General Long was truly a worm. Soon, General Long's spiritual power was sucked dry, and his whole body withered, unable to move at all. Yi Tianyun quickly returned to his original state, but his face was slightly pale. Transforming into an evil dragon consumed a lot of energy, so he couldn't maintain it for too long. Although it could be used, it would be converted into experience, so it wouldn't have any effect. Unless he didn't convert it into experience points, and simply absorbed it into his body. Immediately, Yi Tianyun picked up the red dragon spear, and walked in front of General Long. He looked at him coldly and said, "The netherworld prison that you manage has killed countless cultivators. Today, I will punish you on behalf of the heavens, and eliminate you. Originally, you should have received a greater punishment for what you did, but if I let you live, I would be letting down those cultivators who died. Ha ha ha. What a good punish on behalf of the heavens. I am the heavens, I am the Tao. Kill me, the netherworld empire will never stop, and it will destroy the spirit race, and the entire heavenly border continent." General Long laughed out loud, but he could only open his mouth to speak. He couldn't even commit suicide. His whole body went limp on the ground. "Don't worry, before that, I will destroy the netherworld empire." Yi Tianyun raised his red dragon spear and stabbed it into General Long's chest. The spear pierced deep into the ground. Chempage. General Long looked at him coldly, his face full of mockery. I will be waiting for you down there. Compared to the Imperial Preceptor and the others, I am much weaker. You will soon accompany me down there. Humph, don't worry, I will not accompany you down there. The people who will accompany you down there are the people of the Netherworld Empire. Yi Tianyun turned the red dragon spear in his hand, and released a violent power that crushed General Long's heart. General Long was now completely dead. He could not be any more dead than he already was. Ding. Successfully killed General Long. Reward, 4 million EXP, 5,000 crazy point, 1,000 SPS. Reward, Martial Art Heavenly Dragon Secret Art, Low-Grade Heaven Level Martial Art, Tyrannical Soul Spear Art, Low-Grade Heaven Level Martial Art. Reward, Red Dragon Battle Armor, Low-Grade Heaven Level, Red Dragon Divine Spear, Low-Grade Heaven Level, Red Dragon Boots, Low-Grade Heaven Level, Dragon God Bloodline, Rare, Red Dragon Fragment. Ding. Successfully killed General Long. Reward, 50 million EXP, 500. 000 Crazy Point, 100. 000 SPS, Enhanced Lottery Roulette Ticket. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully breaking through to the 6th level of Core Transformation Realm. The explosive reward was the explosive reward of fighting a battle above his cultivation level, which directly allowed him to enter the 6th level of Core Transformation Stage without any difficulty. This Void Spirit Stage's EXP is really a lot. Yi Tianyun was stunned for a moment. Even if he is an elite, he already has 500. 000 EXP. Yi Tianyun froze for a moment, not to mention the existence of the elite level. Before using crazy mode, he already has 500,000 EXP. This means that Void Spirit Stage is very strong. It is defined by the system as a qualitative leap, reaching a higher level. In fact, it is true, Void Spirit Stage's combat power is much stronger than Core Transformation Realm, especially when he can use Void Spirit Stage. In fact, it is true, Void Spirit Stage's combat power is much stronger than Core Transformation Realm, especially when he can use Void Spirit Stage. It is not surprising that Yi Tianyun's EXP can soar. Tianyun, you really did it. You defeated General Long. Yi Qingxian couldn't believe that Yi Tianyun's strength is much stronger than before. Doesn't this mean that Yi Tianyun's cultivation has reached Void Spirit Stage? At such a young age, no more than 17 or 18 years old, he had already reached the Void Spirit Stage. It was shocking to hear about it. I told you, just leave him to me. Chapter 339. The last survivor, General Long, was beheaded. After looting the corpse, Yi Tianyun threw out the immortal fire and burned the corpse to ashes. The Netherworld Empire's general died just like that. If the news spread out, it will shock the entire continent. But correspondingly, it will anger the Netherworld Empire, and if they continue to send strong enemies to suppress the Netherworld Empire, Yi Tianyun is not sure. But no matter how many people come, Yi Tianyun will kill them all. No matter how many people come, it is equivalent to a pile of EXP and CPS. Yi Tianyun is very happy to do it. Especially with the help of confusion formation, it is undoubtedly easier to clean up. After cleaning up everything, Yi Tianyun and Yi Qingxian returned to the village. When they learned that General Long is dead, they all cheered. No one expected that Yi Tianyun really did it. Not only did they clean up the dragon soldiers, but they also killed General Long suddenly. Yi Tianyun's prestige can be said to have reached the peak. Everyone thinks that Yi Tianyun is the strongest existence in the spirit race, and he has become the guardian of the spirit race. When he returned to the spirit tower, the spirit race old ancestor smiled, but his face looked a bit pale. Maintaining the confusion formation consumed too much spiritual power, plus he hasn't fully recovered yet, so he looked a bit haggard. But after knowing that they won, he smiled even more. You really succeeded in killing General Long and saved the entire spirit race. Old ancestor said with a smile, I really didn't misjudge you. It should be said that Saintus brought back the savior of our spirit race. Old ancestor, you are exaggerating a bit. Yi Tianyun smiled. He is very happy to come and help. Especially since he already has a grudge against the Netherworld Empire, why not complete the quest together with them? Successfully completed Protect the Spirit Race, resist the attack of General Long's army. Reward, 60 million EXP, 250. 000 CPS, 100. 000 SPS, 100 Spirit Race Favorability. Successfully accepted the ultimate quest, become the king of Spirit Race reward, 100 million EXP, 300. 000 Crazy Point, 10. 000 SPS, 10. 000 Divine Rune Proficiency, and the title Spirit Race. At this time, the quest was completed, and he also received a lot of experience as a reward. Moreover, he also accepted the ultimate quest, so he didn't need to resist the Netherworld Empire anymore. If he had to completely eradicate the Netherworld Empire before he could accept this ultimate mission, then he would be in trouble. At present, Yi Tianyun couldn't eradicate the Netherworld Empire by himself, even if he cooperated with the Spirit Race and the Heavenly Jade Sect. The gap between them was just too big. 2 Void Spirit Stage powerhouses were enough to slap them to the ground. Yi Tianyun's victory this time was mostly due to the Spirit Race's mystic maze forest. If they left this place, they would be like a fortress without walls, instantly falling into the enemy's hands. I'm not exaggerating at all. As I said before, as long as you can resist General Long, you can become the king of the Spirit Tribe. The Spirit Race's old ancestor said in a deep voice, "In a few days, I will announce this to the public and let you take the trial to become a Spirit King." Good. Yi Tianyun didn't refuse this time. If he still refused, then he would be too hypocritical. They nodded. This was a big deal, so it was necessary to discuss countermeasures, especially the countermeasures to appease the people. It was very difficult to let an outsider become the king of the Spirit Race, so a lot of preparation was needed. If more than half of the people opposed, then there was basically no hope. Whether it was more than half of the people or a small number of people, it was necessary to appease them, otherwise, it would be very difficult to convince the public. The Spirit Race's population was small, so even if a small number of people opposed, it was already a lot. While they were preparing, the news about this place had already spread out, and many forces were paying attention to this place. When they learned that General Long and the others couldn't come out, there was no doubt that General Long and the others died in the Spirit Race's territory. According to the Netherworld Empire's situation, if they succeeded in conquering the Spirit Race, they would immediately announce it to everyone. All of a sudden, the entire Heavenly Border continent was in an uproar, and the Netherworld Empire's forces were also in an uproar. Just thinking about it made his hair stand on end. The Spirit Race was so powerful, but the Dragon Army led by General Long was destroyed just like that. To put it bluntly, such a strong army could easily destroy any third-grade force. The Spirit Race had already declined, and there were many traitors who were captured, but they were still able to destroy the Dragon Legion of the Netherworld Empire. It was really incredible. All of a sudden, there was an uproar. Many forces were guessing whether the Spirit Race had reinforcements, or whether some hidden expert had suddenly appeared to help them. The news spread like wildfire, spreading to all corners of the world. When the Netherworld Emperor heard the news, he was furious. He looked at the ministers and generals who were trembling in fear and said in a cold voice, "What the hell is going on? Didn't the Imperial Preceptor help us this time? How could they be annihilated? How could they not be able to capture a mere Spirit Race after so long? Even General Long died there. Great Emperor, this is very strange. The old ancestor of the Spirit Race was poisoned, so it is impossible for him to use the full power of the puzzle formation. I think there must be some external help, such as the Heavenly Dragon Empire." The Imperial Preceptor's eyes were cold. He still believed that it was impossible to detoxify the poison in his body. There was only one possibility that made General Long fall into such a predicament, and that was the Heavenly Dragon Empire. The two empires had been at war for a long time, and now they were in a temporary truce. That was the case on the surface, but it wasn't a truce in the dark. They were still fighting to the death, just that it wasn't on the surface. Did the Heavenly Dragon Empire send reinforcements? This is very possible. I'm afraid that they are also interested in the power of the Spirit Race, and they want to take advantage of this crisis to win the heart of the Spirit Race. Netherworld Great Emperor slapped the table and said in cold voice, "It seems like we have helped them find a gap and let them enter. Great Emperor, what do you think? Do you still want to send people to attack the spirit race? The Imperial Preceptor asked. Our situation is very serious now. General Long was killed. The Netherworld Emperor said coldly, since that is the case, we will send General Feng to deal with this matter. Netherworld Emperor said coldly, since that is the case, we will send General Feng. Send General Feng? Isn't General Feng going to eradicate the remnants of the Heavenly Dragon Empire? If we send him there, will it affect them? The Imperial Preceptor was stunned for a moment. It will definitely affect them, but we don't need to worry about the remnants of the Heavenly Dragon Empire for the time being. Countless forces know that spirit race killed our people. Netherworld Great Emperor said in deep voice, dispatch General Feng, I don't believe we can't deal with him. Chapter 340. The Netherworld Empire had already sent an army over and was preparing to push Yi Tianyun to the position of Spirit King. After everything was ready, the Spirit Race's old ancestor gathered all the Spirit Race's people in the main hall of the pagoda. Many people did not know what was going on, but they felt that it was a bit strange. Some people thought that they should explain the future plans or the recent situation, but no one thought that they were planning to push Yi Tianyun to the position of Spirit King. Only a few people knew about this matter, and most people did not know about it. Yi Tianyun was standing next to the Spirit Race old ancestor, and he could see that there were a lot of people gathered together. A rough count showed that there were less than 1,000 Spirit Tribe members left, and no one knew if there were any who had escaped. But at the moment, including those who had been rescued, there were less than 1,000 of them. At most, there were 800 or 900 of them. There were no more than that. It was extremely difficult for the spirit race to reproduce, and with so many traitors and the Netherworld Empire killing so many of them, how could their population be small? I believe that everyone is puzzled by my sudden summons. The spirit race's old ancestor smiled faintly and said, in fact, it is nothing. I just want to ask you one thing. Did Brother Yi contribute a lot to the spirit race? Yes. Of course he contributed a lot. Not only did he save us, but he also killed General Long. How satisfying. Yes. Also, he knocked down the prison of the Netherworld Empire. That was one of the symbols of the Netherworld Empire. It was really amazing. As long as Brother Yi is here, the spirit race will be safe. They all cheered one after another, proving that Yi Tianyun's prestige was amazing. Yi Tianyun had helped the spirit race a lot, so it was hard for him not to be respected. Their eyes were full of admiration for Yi Tianyun. He was definitely a great hero in their hearts. Well, it seems that you are very satisfied with Brother Yi. The spirit race's old ancestor was very satisfied with their cheers. In that case, I will now announce a very important matter. After the spirit race's old ancestor heard this, they all quieted down and put on a serious expression. They felt that what happened next was the most important thing. The old ancestor of the spirit race said with a serious face, Little Brother Yi, you saved our spirit race from danger. If it weren't for him, I don't think the spirit race would have been able to escape from the clutches of the Netherworld Empire. When the other forces were afraid of the Netherworld Empire, he bravely stood up for our spirit race and helped us. So when I came back, I kept thinking about a problem, and that is to push him to be our spirit king. I believe that under his leadership, our spirit race will definitely rise to glory. Finally, a piece of heavy news came crashing down, causing many people to be stunned. This news was too sudden, so sudden that they had never thought about it before. Letting an outsider become their spirit king was simply inconceivable. Make Big Brother Yi our king? An outsider, a human, has become our king. This is unbelievable. Even the old ancestor is willing to make him our king? They burst into an uproar and looked at each other in dismay. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. But soon, many people revealed determined gazes. I am willing to let Big Brother Yi become our king. He has helped our spirit race too much and he is also very strong. I'm also willing for Yi Ingxiong to become the king of the spirit clan. I believe that with Yi Ingxiong around, our spirit clan will definitely prosper. I'm willing as well. I've been thinking about it before, but I didn't expect it to be possible. I fully support you. They all cried out in surprise. Not a single person objected. Not a single person from the spirit race made a sound. A perfect pass. The old ancestor of the spirit race was dumbfounded. They had thought of a lot of words to say and even thought of a lot of things to suppress the voices of opposition. Now, their preparation for the past few days had been in vain. There was no need for any preparation at all. Everything was approved without a single objection. One had to know that it was possible to be opposed to promoting someone from an inner clan, but promoting someone from an outer clan and getting everything approved was definitely something that had never happened in history. Yi Tianyun heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that after increasing his favorability, the voices of opposition would definitely decrease. He could see that the favorability of all the clansmen was more than 200, and some were as high as 300, which was an incredible thing. Even the Heavenly Jade sect did not have such a high favorability. The main reason was that the situation was different, so the favorability was naturally different. He had saved the entire spirit race. To put it bluntly, without his help, the spirit race would have been finished long ago. Only an idiot would object to such a thing. The greatest gratitude was nothing more than providing charcoal in a snowy day. It was much more important than saying good words or giving gifts. Since there is no problem, then I hereby announce that Brother Yi is allowed to participate in the Spirit King trial. As long as he passes the Spirit King trial, then he can become our king. The old ancestor of the spirit race smiled again. It was somewhat unexpected that everything went so smoothly, but it was reasonable. There are rules that should not be broken. As long as he can pass the Spirit King trial, he can become our king. On the contrary, if he fails, then it can only be said that he is not fated. Everyone nodded. The Spirit King trial was a trial that no matter who wanted to become a Spirit King, they had to pass it. If he failed, no matter how talented he was, no matter how strong he was, he could only say goodbye. It was impossible to sit on the Spirit King position. Since everyone loves me so much, then I will definitely lead the spirit race to glory, Yi Tianyun said solemnly, but before that, I will also accept the Spirit King trial. If I succeed, I will become the Spirit King. If I fail, I will still be friends with the spirit race forever. Big Brother Yi will definitely become the Spirit King. With such powerful strength, how can he fail? Yes, Ingxiong Yi will definitely succeed. He has helped our spirit race so much, how can he fail? Big Brother Yi will definitely succeed. We think you can definitely do it. They constantly encouraged him and were even more certain that Yi Tianyun would definitely pass the Spirit King trial. Alright, there is no time to lose. Prepare for the Spirit King trial, the old ancestor of the spirit race announced. There was no delay. Right after the announcement, Yi Tianyun was already required to participate in the Spirit King trial. The spirit race needed a king to hold down the fort. More importantly, becoming a Spirit King would bring benefits to the spirit race. Chapter 341. After the spirit race ancestors' announcement, a group of people headed towards the Spirit King trial grounds, the Spirit King Road. The Spirit King Road was the Spirit King trial grounds. As long as one reached the end and obtained a certificate, they would be considered to have passed. It didn't sound difficult at all, but it just so happened that it prevented many spirit race members from becoming Spirit Kings. Many talented spirit race disciples had clearly been chosen to become Spirit Kings, but in the end, they still failed. This was the most regrettable part. Is there anything special about this Spirit King trial? Yi Tianyun asked. I've never been there, how would I know? Yi Qingxian shook her head and said, you'll have to ask the ancestor. He used to be a Spirit King, so he must know. The Spirit King trial is divided into several stages. The situation at each stage is random, so even if I tell you, it will be of limited use. However, there are a few things that can be confirmed, and that is whether the overall standard of the test is up to standard. You defeated General Long at such a young age, so to be honest, this shouldn't be a problem for you. The spirit race ancestor smiled faintly and said, what I said before was just an announcement according to the rules. It shouldn't be a big problem for you, at least for the journey. The biggest problem is whether you can get the recognition at the end. There is a stone tablet at the end, and after you get the recognition, you will obtain a divine rune. With that divine rune, you can become a Spirit King. So that's how it is. I think a lot of things are related to the last step, right? After listening, Yi Tianyun realized that this was the main point. The test on the road was just a small matter, and there wasn't much difficulty to speak of. Especially for those with stronger cultivation, there was a limit to the test no matter how strong it was. Therefore, as long as one's cultivation was strong, it was very easy to enter. The problem was whether one could get the recognition. Yes, most people are stuck at this stage, unable to get the recognition. That's why they fail. The spirit race ancestor thought for a moment and said, "As for the recognition, we really don't know. It was left behind by the ancestors, so we don't know what it means. As long as you get the recognition, you can become the Spirit King." Alright. Yi Tianyun felt a little helpless. What he said was basically the same as not saying anything. There wasn't much useful information. Soon, under their lead, they arrived at the Spiritual King Road. It did not lead to other forests, but to the underground. The entrance wasn't too big, but it was big enough for two people to walk in side by side. As soon as they reached the entrance, they could feel a gust of cold wind coming from the inside. This gust of cold wind was extremely sharp, causing Yi Tianyun to feel a slight chill. One must know that if it wasn't extremely cold, it wouldn't affect him at all. In this place, it made him feel slightly colder, and that was enough. If one's cultivation was slightly lower, or if one's physique was slightly weaker, they would definitely be frozen into an ice sculpture very quickly. This is the Spiritual King Road? Yi Tianyun stared at the entrance. It was just an ordinary cave entrance. No one would have thought that this was a training ground for spirit kings. As long as one reached the end and obtained the divine imprint, they would be able to succeed. That's right, this is the Spirit King path. Once you reach the end and obtain the divine imprint symbol, you will be able to become a spirit king. The spirit race old ancestor said solemnly, "There is no time limit, but if you stay inside for too long, even if you are at the void spirit stage, you will be affected." So powerful. Yi Tianyun was startled. This was completely a cave of death. Even void spirit stage experts would be affected. No wonder he felt a chill. That's right, so if you can't get the recognition, don't continue to stay. If you can't get the recognition, then you can't get it. There is no need to be unwilling to stay there and try, it's meaningless. The spirit race old ancestor sighed. There was one in the past, after he couldn't get the recognition, he kept trying and never came back. The difficulty is not low, but as long as one's cultivation is not weak, he can reach the end. If I can't get it, I won't force too much. If I can't get it, then I can't get it. I won't deliberately force anything. Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently. If he really couldn't become a spirit king, he wouldn't force too much. If you want to protect your family, or want to become stronger, you don't need to become a spirit king. If you want to bring two families together, you also don't need to become a spirit king. It's just that after becoming a spirit king, everything will be easier. Since you know, then go quickly, we will wait here for you to come back. The spirit race old ancestor said. Go, I will wait here for you to come back. Yi Qingxian smiled. She believed that Yi Tianyun would succeed. Big brother Yi, you must succeed. Yi Wn clenched her small fist, waved at him and said, "You are the person I brought back. Don't worry, I won't let you down." Yi Tianyun smiled, lifted his foot and walked into the cave. Just as he walked in, a world of ice and snow greeted his eyes. There was a thick layer of ice everywhere, and it was much colder than the outside world. Even he felt a chill down his spine. If his physique was weak, the cold would definitely continue to invade his body. He would feel like a knife cutting into his body. But when he took a few steps, a strange cry sounded in his ear. So cold, let me out." Yi Tianyun looked for the owner of the voice, turned his head to look to the side, and found that Lei Yun was tied to the ice pillar. At this time, more than half of his body had been frozen. If he continued to be frozen, he would be completely frozen into an ice sculpture. Only then did Yi Tianyun know that the place where they imprisoned the traitor was actually this Spirit King Road. It was really cold here. Even Lei Yun was frozen half to death, especially when his cultivation was destroyed. He could not resist the cold at all. "Long time no see, your life is quite tough." Yi Tianyun smiled, walked over, stood in front of Lei Yun and said, It's you." Lei Yun trembled as he looked up at him, from time to time rolling his eyes. Yes, it's me. I came to participate in the Spirit King trial. As long as I succeed, I can become a Spirit King. Are you jealous? Yi Tianyun smiled at him. No, impossible. You are an outsider. How can you become a Spirit King? Lei Yun said with a trembling voice. Why can't I become a Spirit King? That's right, the Netherworld prison was destroyed by me, the Spirit race's ancestor was rescued by me, and General Long was also killed by me. TSK, I wonder who the Netherworld Empire will send next. No matter who they send, only death awaits. Yi Tianyun smiled coldly at him, stretched out his hand and patted his head. Enjoy yourself here. I hope you can hold on until the moment I come out. You. Lei Yun rolled his eyes, but he couldn't pass out even if he wanted to. He was quickly awakened by the cold and couldn't pass out at all. Chapter 342. Amidst Lei Yun's screams, Yi Tianyun continued deeper into the spiritual king's road. The surrounding cold wind constantly assaulted him, trying to penetrate his body. However, his physique was extremely strong. The cold wind had no effect on him at all. If it was anyone else, they would have long been frozen into an ice sculpture. The cold wind here is indeed shocking. If my cultivation was slightly lower, I wouldn't be able to endure this terrifying cold wind. Yi Tianyun furrowed his brows. Other than a vast expanse of whiteness, there was nothing else. As he continued deeper, the cold wind became colder and colder. It was much colder than before. Furthermore, the deeper he went, the wider the area. Originally, the entrance could only accommodate 2 people at the same time. Now, it could accommodate over 100 people at the same time. Very quickly, as he went deeper, he could see a sea of fire stuck at the breakpoint. It could be said that it was a sea of fire and a sea of ice. It looked extremely strange. There was a clear dividing line that separated these 2 completely different attributes. When he got closer, he immediately felt a scorching heat coming from the other side. He felt as if he was going to be burnt. This feeling was much stronger than the outside. If Lei Yun was placed here, he would definitely be burnt to death quickly. He wouldn't have to endure this much pain. It wasn't without reason that they placed him outside to punish Lei Yun. If he was placed here, he would definitely die soon. There are even divine barrier runes here. The technique is not bad. This must be the work of a divine rune grandmaster. Yi Tianyun arrived at the edge. It could be said that he was in a world of ice and fire. He could feel the heat from the other side and the cold from the other side. Of course, this wasn't a problem for him. His astonishing physique was enough to instantly kill opponents of the same level. Furthermore, he was wearing the evil dragon set, so he wasn't afraid of any attacks. There were actually 2 types of equipment. One was to present it on the outside, which was the domineering mode. The other was to present it as an ordinary piece of clothing. It looked no different from ordinary clothes. This way, it would be more low-key. Others might think that he wasn't wearing any armor, but when it came to a real fight, they would know what was called toughness. Yi Tianyun only looked at it for a moment, then lifted his foot and walked over, stepping into the land of flames. The sea of fire on both sides of the passageway quickly rolled over, as if it had been activated. It quickly pounced over, like 2 roaring fire dragons, and bit his body. Yi Tianyun's expression was indifferent. He ignored the fire dragon's attacks and continued walking in. After these fire dragons bit him, with a bang sound, they rolled up surging flames and engulfed him. Soon after, the flames unwillingly retreated to the side and did not cause the slightest effect. The power of this flame is not bad, but it is still much weaker than a void spirit stage attack, so it won't have much of an impact. Yi Tianyun continued to walk forward, allowing the surrounding flames to attack him. Apart from that, there were no other new ways to attack. Apart from flames, there were more flames. Every attack was roughly equivalent to the attack of a 4th or 5th level core transformation stage cultivator. The power was not strong, but the most important thing was that it would not stop. As long as he stopped here, he would continue to be attacked. Whether it was the road of ice outside or the road of fire here, he would continue to be attacked. Yi Tianyun was like an intruder in this place. As long as he stayed here, it would constantly release energy to drive him out until he left this place, otherwise, it would not stop. As he continued to go deeper, the situation in front of him changed a little. The sky was full of yellow sand rolling in front of him. From afar, he could see an endless desert. Obviously, this place leads to the underground, but there is such a strange scene here. However, after accepting the changes in the previous two scenes, it was no longer surprising that an endless desert would appear. This time is the road of earth. When Yi Tianyun came to this place, he could see that the fire and the yellow sand were separated, unable to fuse with each other. Immediately, he took a step forward. The moment he stepped into the yellow sand seemed to have a terrifying suction force, sucking him down. Yi Tianyun didn't even frown, he lifted his foot and continued to walk forward. The yellow sand on the ground is sucking him down, trying to suck him into the ground. Without a doubt, the trial here was fatal. If he was not careful, he would die here. However, since he was a candidate for the Spirit King position, his cultivation must not be low. Lei Yun's cultivation was not low, so he could withstand the trial here. This is a little troublesome. I'll just fly in. Yi Tianyun broke free from the yellow sand under his feet and quickly flew into the sky. The moment he flew up, a crazy sandstorm immediately rolled up around him, enveloping him in an instant. Dang, dang, dang. The sand was like pieces of metal, madly smashing into his body. If he was not wearing the evil dragon equipment set, he would have been injured. This sandstorm was too crazy. It was much more terrifying than walking on the ground. Looks like flying will be a lot more difficult. In an instant, he understood the rules. It was clear that if he had to fly, the difficulty would definitely be a lot more difficult. However, he did not plan to rush. He wanted to test the situation here, so he decided to walk. Originally, flying would be a lot more difficult. However, he was too lazy to care about them. He continued to accelerate forward, allowing the sandstorm to sweep towards him. He easily blocked the sandstorm, completely ignoring its attacks. The evil dragon equipment set's defense was too abnormal. It could even block the attacks of void spirit stage experts, let alone these sandstorms. As he flew, he quickly arrived at the border. What entered his eyes was a forest. Without a doubt, this was the path of wood. Looks like metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Will I have to walk the path of 5 elements? Yi Tianyun shook his head. This trial was really comprehensive, using the most basic elements to attack him. It was a comprehensive trial. Shortly after, he landed at the border and walked forward. Just as he walked over, countless vines immediately wrapped around him. It was a very normal attack. If he did not block it, he would be tied up like a dumpling. Yi Tianyun raised his hand and waved, and a burst of energy rolled over, and the vine that shrouded him was cut into pieces. To him, these trials were not challenging at all. However, he had to pass them. I wonder how the final approval is going to be. Chapter 343. After Yi Tianyun broke the vines that entangled him, he quickly flew up into the sky. As soon as he flew up, several towering trees suddenly emerged from the ground and pierced towards him. The branches of these towering trees were as sharp as spears, and they stabbed towards him, trying to pierce through him. Bang! Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with these branches, and let them stab towards him. When they stabbed into his body, they were all shattered, without any effect. It was undeniable that these attacks were very powerful, but against his terrifying defense, they were meaningless. Compared to the previous situation, he was much stronger, but as long as it wasn't a void spirit stage attack, he wouldn't feel anything. Although they couldn't cause him any harm, these towering trees madly emerged from the ground and stabbed towards him. Every time, they were so fast and sudden. When it stabbed into his body, it was only shattered and didn't affect him at all. Almost there, I'm about to reach the next boundary. Yi Tianyun looked forward, and sure enough, he saw a golden world at the boundary. Just as he had guessed, it was a metal-attributed world, the Golden Road. The appearance of this golden road was no different from the outside world. There were mountains, rivers, flowers, and trees, but the difference was that they were all golden, and looked very magical. However, if anyone entered this world as a normal one, they would definitely die without a complete corpse. Sure enough, after he stepped in, the surrounding flowers, plants, and trees suddenly turned into countless sharp blades, piercing towards him. There was no place for him to hide. Even the ground and stones under his feet became very sharp, and they pierced towards him. Originally, they looked very ordinary, but in the blink of an eye, they turned into weapons that could harvest people's lives. They were all condensed from metal-attributed energy, and they were like powerful weapons, slashing towards him. Dang! Whether it was stones or leaves, when they came into contact with Yi Tianyun, they all made a crisp sound, and were repelled by his evil dragon set. There was no effect at all, and they were completely repelled. The power is not bad. It's even stronger than the previous ones. As expected, the further I go, the stronger it gets. However, it's still meaningless to me. Yi Tianyun shook his head and continued forward. All the attacks he received were ineffective against him. No matter how arrogant he was still no match for his evil dragon set equipment. As he moved forward, he soon reached the border. This time, he couldn't see anything in front of him. It was just fog. It looked very strange, but no matter how strange it was, he had to go in and see what was going on. When he walked in, Yi Tianyun immediately felt a special power wrap around him. It kept invading his body from all directions. However, it only covered the surface of his body and did not completely permeate it. After walking for a distance, a blurry shadow suddenly appeared in front of him and gradually formed into a human figure. As time passed, the figure became clearer and clearer. In the end, he realized that the figure that formed was himself. His appearance was exactly the same, but it was not his real appearance. It was just a copy of his current face, and the clothes on his body were also exactly the same. As soon as it formed, the other party pounced at him without hesitation and swung its fist at him. Yi Tianyun did not even dodge and allowed the self to smash at him. The last punch landed on his body, and with a dong sound, the entire figure was repelled. The instant it was repelled, Yi Tianyun reached out and grabbed it, slamming it heavily onto the ground. With a peng sound, it turned into fog and merged with the surrounding fog. There was no difficulty at all. It was a piece of cake. Isn't this a little too weak? His strength is so weak, and his cultivation is even worse. Yi Tianyun shook his head. However, he knew that this was because he did not collect enough data. The self he formed was naturally very weak. If his face was a copy of his fake face, what power could it have? The evil dragon set equipment that he was wearing and his physique were not replicated, so the power was much weaker. After defeating his opponent, the fog that he had turned into fused back into the fog. The surrounding fog quickly disappeared, and what appeared in front of him was a long and narrow walkway. It was no different from the way he had entered at the beginning. So it was an illusion array all along. This illusion array is really exquisite. I fell into it unknowingly, and the effect is completely real. Yi Tianyun was stunned. He did not think that he would fall into an illusion array. He walked into the next scene seamlessly. He did not think that after defeating himself, the real world would appear. He turned his head and looked back. It was the entrance that he entered from before. However, it was still the entrance to the frigid ice cave. Only the frigid ice domain was real. The later stages were completely fake. No wonder the old ancestor said that everything was random. It was very possible that other types of trials would appear. His trial was a trial of these 5 elements, plus a test of defeating himself. If it was someone else, it was very likely that it would be a different test. Truly, there's always a mountain higher than the mountain, and there's always someone stronger. Even though I've already broken through to the Grandmaster level, I still didn't notice that I was trapped in an illusion. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Fortunately, he was a bit stronger. Or perhaps there were not too many dangerous places here. Otherwise, he would have easily died here. He raised his head and looked in front of him. There were a few flashes of white light in front of him. That was definitely the end. He did not think too much about it. He lifted his foot and continued walking. After passing through the path, his eyes suddenly widened. He saw a huge stone tablet. Rather than calling it a stone tablet, it was more accurate to say that it was carved into the stone wall. This stone wall was hundreds of meters tall, and it was densely carved with divine inscriptions from head to toe. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that these were very ordinary divine inscriptions. Basically, all divine inscriptions at the Grandmaster level were carved on it. There were no divine inscriptions that were particularly rare. Yi Tianyun knew most of them. There were some divine inscriptions unique to the spirit race that were not carved here. The meaning behind these divine inscriptions was unclear. It was very likely that the ancestors of the spirit race had nothing better to do and wanted to carve them here. As long as I come in front of this stone tablet and see if I can obtain its recognition. Yi Tianyun walked in front of the stone wall and placed his hand on it. Immediately after, the stone wall emitted a green light that enveloped his body. He felt warm. After a while, all the light disappeared. The stone wall did not move. Not even a single divine inscription was given to him. Chapter 344. According to the spirit race old ancestor, as long as he doesn't get the divine rune, he won't be recognized here, which means he failed. It seems that I can't become spirit king. Yi Tianyun shook his head. If that's the case, then he can't complete the task. But why did the system arrange such a task for him? Is it increasing the difficulty? Even if I can't get the recognition, I still have to become spirit king? Yi Tianyun frowned. If that's the case, the difficulty is really high. If he can't get the recognition, how can he become spirit king? Whether it's the old ancestor or himself, they have already said in advance, if he can't get the recognition, he won't be able to sit on the spirit king position. Or is it because I'm a foreigner, I can't get the recognition? Yi Tianyun thought of this, but he quickly rejected it, because there was a foreigner spirit king a long time ago, so if he can't get the recognition, it's obviously not true. He frowned and looked around carefully. He doesn't know where to start. Under what conditions will the recognition come? He looked at the stone wall and immediately used the appraisal eye to check the details, and soon the details of the stone wall appeared in front of him. First grade divine rune, enhance the effect of medicinal pill, successfully engraved on medicinal pill, can increase the effect by 10%. Third grade divine rune, enhance the effect of weapon damage, successfully engraved on medicinal pill, can increase the damage by 10%. Second grade divine rune, 1 by 1, the divine rune showed its effect under the appraisal eye, but what Yi Tianyun wants to see is not the divine rune, but the situation of the whole stone wall. When he looked up, he found a group of densely packed divine runes. For him, it doesn't mean anything. Do I have to see it all to know what it is? Yi Tianyun thought for a moment, and then quickly retreated to the outside of the main entrance, reflected the entire stone wall in his eyes, and then opened the appraisal eye. Ding, successfully found Tyrant Stonewall, Ancient Treasure, Reward, 5,000,000 EXP, 10,000 Crazy Point, 100 Prestige Point, Tyrant Stonewall. Most of the divine runes within Grandmaster level can be big or small. It could be used to suppress all Grandmaster level divine runes, rendering their formations or divine runes ineffective. If you are in this range, you can increase the success rate of divine rune within Grandmaster level. If you have the corresponding divine runestone, you can instantly inscribe a divine rune within Grandmaster level. Cooldown time is 1 week. Cooldown time is 1 week. Yi Tianyun was shocked to see this news. The effect is quite amazing. In addition to being able to suppress other divine runes, it can also increase the success rate of one's own divine rune. The most important thing is that it can instantly spit out a master-level divine rune. Whatever he wanted, he would be able to copy it instantly. It was the same as making a copy. Just by rubbing it on the divine runestone, a divine imprint would appear. Divine runes as divine rune can inscribe as divine runt. Divine rune as long as can inscribe. Rune as long as he wanted, he could instantly as he divine runes. It. This effect is divine rune is, and long as. It is. Divine run divine rune. Big and young divine rune, it within. This is. It. 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 Is ancestor is it. This was probably left behind by the ancestors of the spirit tribe, but no one knows how to use it. Divine rune stones. This is probably left by the ancestors of spirit race, but no one knows how to use it. Divine rune stone. Yi Tianyun's expression is weird. If that is the case, then it is very strange. Divine runestone is equivalent to divine rune paper, But divine runestone is more precious than divine rune paper. It is a special kind of spirit stone. It looks like a black stone. It can't be used to absorb spiritual power for cultivation. It can only be used to inscribe divine runes. Looking around carefully, there is no divine rune stone here, so he can't try it. But he wants to take the tyrant stone wall, but he doesn't know how to control it. Following him to the tyrant stone wall, Yi Tianyun put his hand on it and began to input his spiritual power. After he input his spiritual power, the divine rune on the stone wall began to light up. The divine rune at the bottom began to light up, and then quickly spread to the divine rune at the top. Soon, the entire stone tablet was lit up. It looked like a glowing stone tablet. He doesn't know if it will work, but he can only try to see if it works. Come in. After Yi Tianyun shouted, the whole stone wall blossomed with a dazzling light. In the next moment, a ray of light enveloped Yi Tianyun, making him feel warm. This is the same as before, it has a special feeling. After a while, Yi Tianyun felt a connection with the stone wall. He quickly opened his hand and shouted, "Come in." Immediately, the stone wall quickly shrunk to the size of a palm. The difference from before is too big. It is heavy in my hand, and it definitely weighs a few thousand pounds. Just this thing alone is enough to crush people to death. It seems that even after shrinking, the weight is still very shocking, and it didn't become lighter. Not bad, not bad. It seems like I can make it recognize me as its master. As long as I fill it with spiritual power, it will recognize me as its master. It is not difficult. Yi Tianyun nodded in satisfaction. This overlord stone wall is very good, and he is very satisfied with its effect. Although it is not heaven-defying, it is definitely not bad. Immediately, he looked in front of him. Because the stone wall has been put away, there is an additional path in front of him that continues to lead underground. A faint green light came from underground, and it made Yi Tianyun feel very comfortable. He felt that the light from before came from the depths of the earth. I didn't expect that after taking down this stone wall, there would be another path. Until now, no one has been able to take down this stone wall. It seems that no one thought that this stone wall is a treasure, right? Yi Tianyun shook his head. If he didn't have the appraisal eye, he wouldn't have known that it is a treasure. The others are even more confused, and they definitely think that it is just a stone wall. He didn't think too much about it, and he lifted his foot and walked to the bottom. He wanted to see what is underground, and whether it is good or dangerous, he wants to explore it. As he went deeper and deeper, he could feel a wave of warmth. This feeling was very comfortable, and he didn't feel any danger. This is also the reason why he wants to explore it. Who knows, he might be able to find something. Chapter 345. What is this thing? How can it emit such a shocking life energy? Yi Tianyun was shocked by this effect. The life force is so rich, often there are amazing spirit grass, spirit flowers, or amazing millennium ginseng and so on. Here, however, there was a piece of crystal buried here, continuously releasing life energy to the rock wall above, as if it was nourishing the earth. Around this crystal, there were also spirit herbs and flowers. There were quite a few 4th and 5th grade spirit herbs. The soul accumulating grass was also here, but there was only one. It was pitifully rare. Life crystal, a crystal that contains life energy. When a 1,000-year-old spirit treasure evolves into a 10,000-year-old spirit treasure, it produces crystals that can nourish the earth, increase the density of spirit energy, and increase the reproduction of life. After it is released, it will turn into an ordinary stone. The information displayed by the appraisal eye caused him to be stunned, especially the last sentence. Increase the reproduction effect of life. It suddenly reminded him of the spirit race. Was it because of this life crystal that the spirit race could reproduce here? However, it was indeed difficult for the spirit race to reproduce. Their fertility was extremely low, and this was related to their innate talent. The more heaven-defying their innate talent, the harder it was to reproduce. This was the same for the strong. They cultivated with shocking cultivation, but their fertility was extremely low. It was not that there was a problem with their cultivation, but that ordinary life could not be successfully bred. Therefore, they needed both of them to be very strong in order to successfully reproduce. The spirit race's innate talent was too strong. Even if both of them were very strong, it was still difficult for them to reproduce. Rather than saying it was a curse, it was more accurate to say that their innate talent was limited. The stronger their innate talent, the harder it was to reproduce. It was the same for the weak. Their level was too low, and they did not have enough energy to reproduce. This was the same logic as the dragon race. Their reproduction ability was extremely low, but there were still many of them. The most important thing was that the dragon race had chosen places with good feng shui. The life energy there was definitely rich, so their reproduction ability was not too bad. The spirit race was different. This life crystal was about to disappear, and it was already translucent. If this continued, it would become completely translucent. When that time came, without rich life energy, even if they stayed in this spirit race forest, their reproduction ability would still be low. Looks like I have found the root of this problem. Yi Tianyun felt that his biggest gain from coming down wasn't becoming a spirit king, but knowing that he could solve their problem. As long as they could find life crystals, they would be able to live in other places. They wouldn't have to stay here forever. It was clear that the ancestors of the spirit race knew the most fundamental reason, but for some reason, they did not spread the news to the rest of the spirit race. They thought that they had been cursed and were unable to leave this place. As he approached, the life crystal floated up, and a shadow appeared. Soon after, an old man appeared in front of him, floating in the air and looking at him with a smile. "Children, you can finally control the Overlord's stone stele. This is a treasure that I spent my entire life forging. It can give you a protective effect. Only by controlling the Overlord's stone stele can you see this life crystal. This is a treasure I obtained by chance. It can improve our cultivation environment, and it can also increase our reproduction ability. Before the life crystal is used up, you must quickly find another life crystal or a place with dense life energy. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us to reproduce with our conditions. The one who controls the Overlord's stone stele can become the king of the spirit race. You can use the Overlord's stone stele to create a new world in the divine inscription world. Then, you can find another place with better conditions. You won't need to rely on the life crystal to reproduce, or we can return to our real ancestral land. That is the best place for us to return to." After he finished speaking, the ancestor completely disappeared in front of them. This wasn't like Elder Xian's butler. It was just a strand of divine will that allowed them to understand the general content. They didn't expect that the one who obtained the Overlord's stone stele would become a true spirit king. It wasn't just a divine rune. It was obvious that he had entered the test later, and thought that he had succeeded after obtaining the divine rune stone. How could a small divine rune stone be called the Overlord's stone stele? This was undoubtedly a joke, but it had been passed down for so many years, and it hadn't been broken until now. This matter is very serious. It seems like we have to go back and inform them. Yi Tianyun nodded his head. When the time came, he had to call the spirit race's ancestor and the others to come in and see this scene. This was a very serious matter, and it was a mistake that they had always made. It was very likely that the second spirit king couldn't obtain the Overlord's stone stele, so he made up an excuse, saying that this was the sign of becoming a spirit king. Shortly after, he took a look around and did not find anything else. Turning around, he left the place and walked towards the exit. At the same time, everyone outside was very nervous. Most of the spirit race's clansmen were waiting for Yi Tianyun to come out. Unless there was an emergency, they would always wait here to witness the moment of a miracle. "Big brother Yi, when will he come out?" Yi Wn was very nervous as she waited outside. "Very soon, I believe that he will definitely succeed. The outsiders have also succeeded before. He is much stronger than many spirit kings in the past, so I believe in him." Yi Qingxian stretched out her hand and placed it on Yi Wn's shoulder as she comforted her. "Generally speaking, they will only come out after around a week. It has only been a day since he entered, so let's wait patiently." The spirit race's ancestor said with a smile, "However, I believe that he will come out very soon, at most in 3 days. Wait for 3 days, and we will know the result." Under everyone's expectant gazes, A familiar figure soon appeared in everyone's line of sight. He came out. They were all very surprised. Yi Tianyun came out from inside, and it only took him 1 day to come out. Did he fail or did he succeed? Many people's hearts skipped a beat, and they felt that Yi Tianyun had probably failed. He came out in such a short time. Could it be that he had failed? He came out so quickly. It has only been a day. The spirit race's ancestor walked over and asked hurriedly, "Did you get the recognition?" "The recognition that you are talking about, I did not get it." Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile. What? Their hearts shook. Although they had a premonition when they saw him come out so early, they still felt very sad when they actually said it out loud. Then, Yi Tianyun added, "I did not get the recognition that you are talking about, but I did take out the Overlord's stone steely." Chapter 346. This is the Overlord's stone tablet. When the spirit race's ancestor saw the stone tablet, he was deeply shocked. His eyes were filled with disbelief. "Aren't we holding the Overlord's stone tablet?" Obviously, the spirit race's ancestor was also kept in the dark. He didn't know that this was the real Overlord's stone tablet. Many people had never entered the spiritual King's Road, so they didn't know the situation inside. After all, the previous spiritual king was the spirit race's ancestor, and the next spiritual king was supposed to be Lei Yun. However, Lei Yun didn't meet the requirements, and he betrayed them. Thus, only the spirit race's ancestor had seen the stone tablet. Although Yi Qingxian was the saintess, she couldn't become a spiritual king. If she became a saintess, she couldn't become a spiritual king. Moreover, it had always been a male spiritual king. There had never been a female spiritual king. "It's not the Overlord's stone tablet. Mine is the real Overlord's stone tablet," Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. "Moreover, I have a big matter to discuss with the ancestor and the elders. Ancestor and the elders, please come with me. The saintess as well." Yi Tianyun's face was very serious. It was obvious that the matter wasn't simple. "Can we also go in? We aren't spiritual king candidates," Elder Yang and the others frowned. It wasn't that they didn't want to go in, but the rules were like that. They couldn't break them. "Now that I have the Overlord's stone tablet, I can already become a spiritual king. If I let you in, you should be able to enter, right?" Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. "Let's go in. I think he knows something is wrong. That's why he let us in to take a look." The spirit race's ancestor didn't say anything else. He was also curious about the whole matter, especially the Overlord's stone tablet. They looked at each other. Since the ancestor had said so, they had nothing else to say. "You guys stay here. We'll go in first." The ancestor signaled them not to move. The matter wasn't clear yet, so he waited for them to come out and announce it. Yi Tianyun nodded his head and led them in. When they came in one by one, they were all frozen by the cold wind. Yi Qingxian was also frozen, but Yi Tianyun, who was standing at the side, released a wave of energy that enveloped her, preventing her from being invaded at all. "Thank you," Yi Qingxian said softly. "You're welcome." Yi Tianyun led them on their way. Off to the side, Lei Yun saw the patriarch and opened his mouth to say something, but the patriarch and Lei Yun were already off in the distance, ignoring him. When they were about to reach the border, the old ancestor reminded them, "Be careful later, you will fall into the trial." "Ancestor, don't worry about that. Just leave it to me." Yi Tianyun took out the tyrant's stone tablet and slammed it down from the sky. Boom. After the heavy stone tablet slammed down, halos of light spread out in all directions. In an instant, the scene in front of them turned into a long and narrow tunnel, which was the path to the end. This. The old ancestor was shocked. Although he was a divine inscriptionist, it was still impossible for him to break the illusion so easily. If he was the one to break the illusion, he wouldn't feel any pressure at all. After all, he was already a pretty good divine inscriptionist. Although he couldn't be compared to the ancestor, he could at least break the illusion that had existed for many years. The problem was that this was used as a trial. Breaking the illusion would be considered disgraceful. "Let's go. This is the effect of the tyrant's stone tablet." After saying that, Yi Tianyun led the way. After everyone entered, He immediately put away the tyrant's stone tablet, and everything returned to its original state. The tyrant's stone tablet could suppress this place, but it didn't mean that it could shatter it. Luckily, many of the divine inscriptions here were at the Grandmaster level. If not, the tyrant's stone tablet wouldn't have been able to suppress the tunnel. When they reached the end, they immediately saw the life crystal. When they got closer, they immediately felt the surging life energy, which made them feel extremely comfortable. After which, when Yi Tianyun touched the life crystal, the ancestor's divine sense appeared once again. This thing could be released many times. If it was just him alone, it wouldn't be very convincing. Very quickly, after listening to the divine sense, they were all deeply shocked, especially when it came to the tyrant's stone tablet. This meant that the previous spiritual kings were all imposters, and they didn't conform to the rules. This time, they were in an awkward position. Even the spirit race old ancestor was embarrassed. They had made a big mistake. The previous spiritual kings weren't spiritual kings at all. You all roughly understand. The source of your power is the life energy. It's very simple to solve this problem. Just look for a place with a more vigorous life energy. At the very least, it can't be any weaker than this life crystal. As long as you can find the life crystal, you don't have to worry no matter where you go. Finally, there's the tyrant stone tablet. Only with this stone tablet can you be considered a spiritual king. When I first came here, I really didn't succeed. I only succeeded after many attempts. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. I wonder if any of you have a divine rune stone? I do. Yi Qingxian took out a divine rune stone and gave it to him. After Yi Tianyun took it, he summoned the tyrant stone tablet and aimed at a Grandmaster level divine inscription. He used the divine rune stone to inscribe it, and the Grandmaster level divine inscription was instantly inscribed. Basically, he didn't even need a second to successfully inscribe a 5th grade divine inscription. It wasn't difficult at all. If it wasn't for the cooldown time, he would have really crazily inscribed it. He would have definitely made a fortune. However, being able to use it once a week was already quite good. If he could directly inscribe a Grandmaster level divine inscription, he would be able to sell it for a high price. However, because it was the most standard divine inscription, it didn't have many levels, so it was impossible to sell it for a high price. Although a weapon could continue to inscribe another divine inscription after removing the divine inscription, who wouldn't want a better one? However, some people who were short on money could buy standard divine inscriptions at a slightly lower price. However, the difference in price between a first-level divine inscription and a standard divine inscription was shocking. Look, ancestor, is this the one you obtained before? Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. Yes, this is the divine rune stone. I extend my hand and inject spiritual energy into it, and the divine rune stone will appear. According to the previous spiritual king, this is a sign of recognition, the ancestor said truthfully. If that's the case, then it's correct. It's completely wrong information. If you inject spiritual energy into it, the tyrant stone tablet will coincidentally have a divine rune stone inside, and then a divine rune stone will appear. This is the proof that you have become the tyrant stone tablet, the proof that you have become a spiritual king. Yi Tianyun said. I failed before, not because I wasn't qualified, but because there was no divine rune stone inside. Chapter 347. This was definitely a huge blunder. After knowing the truth, everyone felt very embarrassed, especially the leader clan's patriarch, who was even more embarrassed. He was the spirit king, so he knew what had happened. The most important thing was that he was a fake spirit king. The previous spirit kings were all fake spirit kings. If it was announced to the public, it would be even more embarrassing. This was especially true for the disciples of the spirit race. When they heard about it, their faith instantly collapsed. The previous spirit kings were all fake, they were not qualified at all. They didn't even get the Overlord's stone tablet. How could they not feel embarrassed when they called themselves spirit kings? I invited everyone here to talk about this matter. Should we announce it to the public? I suggest that we don't say it. Let the past be the way it is, it won't benefit anyone. Of course, every spirit king is qualified to be a spirit king. For example, the ancestor is qualified to be a divine rune grandmaster. If he is not qualified to be a spirit king, then no one can be a spirit king. Right now, the most important thing is to find a stronger life crystal, or find another place to live. As you can see, the life energy of the life crystal is very weak. I think it will be completely consumed in a few years. At that time, even if we stay here, we won't be able to reproduce. Yi Tianyun looked at them, everyone's face was very heavy. This was a moment of life and death for the spirit race. Fortunately, they had discovered it early. If there were no problems, they would be dead after a few decades, or even 100 years, if they still hadn't discovered any problems. I agree with the Spirit King. Let bygones be bygones. Just treat it as a beautiful mistake. Right now, we are thinking about the life crystals and resisting the Netherworld Empire. The spirit race's ancestor didn't want to avoid the past mistake, he just wanted to keep thinking about it. Which was more important, they needed to know how to judge. Yes, I agree with the Spirit King. But I didn't expect such a big mistake to happen in the past, it's really unexpected. They all shook their heads, they had already decided that Yi Tianyun was the Spirit King. Not only did he obtain the Overlord's stone tablet, he also saved the entire spirit race. No matter what, he was already qualified to be the Spirit King. Yes, now we need to think of a new strategy. We need to keep collecting information about the life crystals and buy them in bulk. That way, everything will be fine. Yi Tianyun said in a low voice, vital crystals are rare, but no matter how rare they are, there are still ways to collect them. To the spirit race, life crystals are the source of life, so we have to collect them no matter what. Yes, we must collect more life crystals. As long as we know how to solve the problem, everything will be much easier. Yi Tianyun nodded. Their eyes shone with the light of hope. It would be best if they could find a solution. This had been bothering them for a long time, as they had thought that it was some sort of curse. Now, it seemed that as long as they collected more life crystals, everything would be fine. It seems that ancestors' request for us to control the tyrant stone Steely before finding out the solution is a little harsh. If we can't control it, won't we really die? The spirit race old ancestor shook his head. It wasn't easy to control the tyrant stone Steely. That's not necessarily true. If there really is a problem, I believe that the spirit race will choose to retreat from this place. Yi Tianyun said, the problem lies with the previous Spirit King. He couldn't control the tyrant stone Steely, so he thought that the divine vein stone was the tyrant stone Steely. He made a big mistake. If we really want to convict him, then the second Spirit King will be the greatest sinner of the spirit race. This wasn't an exaggeration. He had lied in order to become the Spirit King. Although the spirit race was united, they didn't lack petty people. Fortunately, the second Spirit King was already dead. Otherwise, he would have been cursed to death. Then we won't talk about this matter for the time being. Let's just talk about the vital crystals and announce that you have become the Spirit King. The spirit race old ancestor smiled. He was very satisfied with Yi Tianyun. He hadn't expected that an outsider would let them know so many things, and even successfully obtain the tyrant stone Steely. If it weren't for Yi Tianyun's early discovery, they would have suffered heavy losses by the time they discovered the problem. After discussing the countermeasures, they knew what to say to the outside world. When they were about to leave, Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "Wait a minute. I need to get something." After saying that, he plucked the soul-accumulating grass in front of everyone. Among all the spirit herbs, the soul-accumulating grass was the only one he loved. Only this thing could provide him with an explosive amount of experience points. The others were useful to him, but they weren't as effective as the soul-accumulating grass. Yi Qingxian couldn't help but roll her eyes at him. He was so interested in the soul-accumulating grass that he didn't care about anything else. The elders didn't say anything, but they felt that it was strange. Although the soul-accumulating grass was good, it was limited to them. This was especially true for the later stages of the divine vein. The effect of the soul-accumulating grass was very limited. Usually, it was given to talented disciples. I only like the soul-accumulating grass. If anyone has more soul-accumulating grass, I welcome you to give it to me. Yi Tianyun smiled. One soul accumulating grass was equivalent to 100 million experience points. How could he not be tempted? After that, they went outside. Many of the clansmen were discussing something. They were all talking about Yi Tianyun. After they came out, the spirit race's old ancestor announced, "I believe that everyone is confused. However, I want to say that the Overlord's stone tablet that Brother Yi took out is the absolute proof of his recognition. It's more valuable than the divine vein stone. This is a treasure left behind by our ancestors. Only he can control it perfectly. Therefore, he is destined to become the king of our spirit race." After the announcement, everyone was stunned. Although they didn't know what it was, they heard one thing: Yi Tianyun was qualified to become their king. Spirit King, Spirit King, Spirit King. At this time, someone shouted loudly. Soon, the other clansmen also started shouting the title of Spirit King. There wasn't a lot of ceremony. As long as they took out the Overlord's stone tablet, they would become their Spirit King. Everything was so simple. The shout of Spirit King was very penetrating. It made Yi Tianyun excited. It seemed that his trip this time was really good. Just like that, a big force was under his control. "Wait, I have something to say to everyone." Yi Tianyun signaled them to stop. Soon, everyone stopped and looked at him. They didn't know what to say. "Since I have become your Spirit King, I have something to say to everyone. It's about my true appearance." Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice, "I have been in conflict with the Netherworld Empire. Therefore, I had to change my name and face. Now that I have become your Spirit King, it's necessary for me to show everyone my true appearance." Immediately, he took off the mask on his face and revealed a handsome face. He looked very young. In an instant, everyone saw him. Except for Yi Qingxian, everyone was stunned. A 17 or 18-year-old Spirit King was actually so young. "This is my true appearance. My real name is Yi Tianyun. I am an elder of the Heavenly Jade sect in the Earth Boundary continent. I am the Lord of the Heaven's top mansion. What happened in the Gathering Dragon City was caused by me." Yi Tianyun looked at them and said in a deep voice, "Are you still willing to let me become the Spirit King?" As their Spirit King, he had to show his true face to them. Only then would he be honest with them. After a moment of silence, everyone burst out in surprise. "What a young Spirit King. No matter who you are our Spirit King. Yes, the Spirit King who saved our spirit race. The most powerful Spirit King. Spirit King, Spirit King, Spirit King." Chapter 348. Yi Tianyun's heart was filled with excitement. He was infected by the enthusiasm of these people. He has to say that they are really enthusiastic. They completely believe that he can lead the spirit race to glory. Yi Tianyun nodded and looked at them seriously. "Well, I will become the spirit race's king. I will lead you to the most glorious moment. Spirit King, Spirit King, Spirit King." They all shouted one after another. 800 or 900 people shouted in unison. This voice can be said to be resounding through the sky. In this spirit race, in addition to the spirit race old ancestor, the highest prestige is Yi Tianyun. Saintess Yi Qingxian is not as high as him. Mainly this time Yi Tianyun contributed too much, even more than Saintess Yi Qingxian, and now that he has become Spirit King, he is even higher than Saintess Yi Qingxian. Then I announce here, little brother Yi is officially the spirit race's king. Spirit race old ancestor also shouted excitedly, once again raising his voice. Successfully completed the ultimate quest, become the spirit race. Reward, 100 million EXP, 300. 000 crazy point, 100. 000 SPS, 100. 000 divine rune proficiency, and get the title Spirit Race's King. Spirit Race's King, rare title, increase commander value by 500 points, increase success rate of Grand Master Divine Rune by 20%. The success rate of Grand Master Divine Rune is increased by 20%. This effect was extremely shocking. As long as the divine inscription was at the ancestor level, regardless of the type of divine inscription, the success rate would be increased by 20%. This effect was extremely tyrannical. This title is not bad, it's a pity that there is no more chain quest. Yi Tianyun shook his head. This is a bit of a pity. Every time the reward is tens of millions of EXP, this time it is 100 million EXP, the sin value is even more amazing. If there are a few more, it will be difficult not to level up. It's just that the quest is over, the explosive EXP is a lot less. Quests often gave the most EXP. If it was killing monsters, the EXP could only be considered decent. It was definitely not as much as completing quests. After it was announced that Yi Tianyun had become king, everyone rejoiced and prepared to hold a ceremony to celebrate Yi Tianyun becoming the king of the spirit race. All sorts of fine wine and spirit fruits were picked to enjoy and celebrate together. Although the Netherworld Empire would soon send people to attack, it was still very important to celebrate Yi Tianyun's ascension to the throne. Sometimes, one could not be too serious. It was more important to strike a balance between work and rest. Even if a crisis came, one had to be filled with hope for the future. It also had the effect of boosting morale. Tianyun, no, Spirit King, never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that you would become our king. Yi Qingxian sat to the side, watching the spirit race members dancing and celebrating in front of her. Her face was full of smiles. I didn't expect it either. Many things are unexpected, aren't they? At first, Yi Tianyun's idea was to come and help them. Moreover, since they had the same goal to deal with the Netherworld Empire, it was inevitable that they would join forces to fight. It was just that he didn't expect that an outsider would become the king of the spirit race. Some things may have already been decided from the very beginning. Perhaps the heavens had already decided that you would become the king of the spirit race when you saved me. Yi Qingxian turned her head and smiled at him. She was so beautiful that it was intoxicating to look at her. Thank you, my king. This was a sincere smile from the bottom of her heart. If it wasn't for Yi Tianyun, the spirit race would have been destroyed a long time ago. The night was spent in this celebration. No one came to disturb the spirit race this night. Everything was calm and peaceful. Many people finally had a good rest. They knew that there would be a battle soon. At least they had a good rest today, so they could completely relax and prepare for a new day of battle. Without waiting for them to rest for too long, the scouts in the front hurriedly came back with a message, which made all the spirit race's soldiers alert. The Netherworld Empire was attacking. It wasn't out of anyone's expectations. It was completely within expectations. A battle was inevitable. Killing General Long was undoubtedly a slap to the Netherworld Empire's face. If the Netherworld Emperor let them go, the Netherworld Empire's prestige would be completely destroyed. After all, this meant that the Netherworld Empire was scared and had no strong experts. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them not to send people. Spirit King, Elder, the Netherworld Empire is attacking. The scout hurriedly came back and reported. The Netherworld Empire really can't let people feel at ease. What kind of army is coming this time? Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. This time, the Netherworld Empire sent General Feng. The scout's eyes flashed with a trace of fear. General Feng? Yi Tianyun was unfamiliar with this name. He killed General Long and now General Feng came out of nowhere. Spirit King, you may not know this, but General Feng is much stronger than General Long. I have heard that his cultivation has reached 3rd or 4th layer of Void Spirit stage. Most importantly, he has mastered the rare wind attribute power. His speed is amazing, and he can kill his opponents in a flash. The old ancestor of the spirit race frowned and said in a deep voice, the most important thing is that he is leading a group of wind divine soldiers. They come and go without a trace. Each of them is wearing boots of wind and has been engraved with speed divine runes to greatly increase their speed. Void Spirit stage 3rd or 4th layer? That's a tough nut to crack. Yi Tianyun said as he narrowed his eyes. Old ancestor, do you think you can trap them? Yi Tianyun said as he looked at the spirit race old ancestor. No problem. As long as they come in here, they will definitely die. A trace of killing intent flashed in the spirit race old ancestor's eyes. Even if he was old, his heart was not old. Old ancestor's words are enough. Let's clean them up this time and let the Netherworld Empire know our strength. Yi Tianyun said in a cold voice. Let the Netherworld Empire know our strength. The spirit race old ancestor roared in unison. Even when facing General Feng, they were infected by Yi Tianyun's imposing manner. But this time, you don't need to do anything. Leave everything here to us. Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. You stay here and wait for my orders. If you are needed, I will call you. We will listen to the Spirit King's instructions. Chapter 349. Yi Tianyun knew that their morale was high and that they were ready to sacrifice themselves for the spirit race at any time. However, Yi Tianyun didn't need to do so. Some sacrifices were unnecessary. So what if it was General Feng? If they couldn't defeat him, they could stall him. He didn't believe that they couldn't stall General Feng. As for whether the Netherworld Great Emperor would personally come, it was impossible for him to do so. Letting a Great Emperor come personally to deal with a third-rank faction was equivalent to lowering his status. It was as shameful as the destruction of the Netherworld prison. A faction that wasn't that big to begin with had to mobilize their entire army. Did they still need face? Judging from the Netherworld Emperor's situation, it was impossible for him to do so. Even the Imperial Advisor wouldn't come personally. Sending a general would be enough for this kind of killing. If even a general couldn't handle it, then they would have to send a powerful existence. The bigger the faction, the more face they cared about. They didn't mind the words small faction. If anyone dared to say anything, they would just destroy them. What they cared about was the opinion of the other empires. If a small faction sent so many experts, it would be a great loss of face. Unless the Imperial Advisor died at the hands of the spirit race, then the Netherworld Emperor would come personally. It was like a city lord. If a soldier or a patrol envoy was killed, the other patrol envoys or some generals would go to capture the criminal instead of the city lord himself. If the deputy city lord was killed, then the city lord would definitely come personally. If even the deputy city lord was killed, then the city lord would have to come personally. Of course, General Feng was also very powerful. He was only second to the Imperial Advisor, which meant that he was the third strongest existence. This was already a sign of respect for the spirit race. After Yi Tianyun made the announcement, he immediately ordered a few elders to go together. Sending strong experts was the best way to solve the problem. Those that were too weak wouldn't have any effect. The spirit race already had a small number of people. If they continued to die, then even if they won, the result would still be tragic. Now that they knew the solution, they immediately ordered the people of the spirit race to retreat once they sensed that something was wrong. All of you go to the entrance of the forest to see what's going on. I will go there shortly. Yi Tianyun instructed. Yes, Spirit King. They nodded at each other without asking anything and immediately rushed into the forest. Yi Qingxian also set off. This group of people was the strongest in terms of combat power. The more people there were, the better it would be. Yi Tianyun was very powerful, but his speed was undoubtedly much slower. After they left, what Yi Tianyun wanted to do was very simple, and that was to refine pills. Now that he had obtained a soul-accumulating grass, he would not miss this opportunity to level up. After completing the quest twice, he had earned 160 million EXP. He only needed a little more to level up. After leveling up, he would have more confidence in dealing with this General Feng. In this place, cultivation was always the prerequisite for victory. If one's cultivation was far from enough, then any schemes and plots would be futile. Let's level up first. Yi Tianyun immediately started to refine pills like crazy and doubled the speed of refining the soul-accumulating pill. He did not dare to refine the soul-accumulating pill 5 times, because it was too difficult. If he failed, he would not be able to level up. While he was refining pills, General Feng had already led a group of Wind Divine soldiers towards him. There were hundreds of them, and their cultivation had all reached the Spirit Core stage. This was the power of the Empire. Their cultivation was at the Spirit Core stage, which was really a big deal. Although their cultivation was only at the Spirit Core stage, they ran at an amazing speed as if they were flying. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed a large distance. The middle-aged man who was leading them had a stern face, and there was no trace of emotion in his eyes, only indifference. He held a long sword in his hand and flew towards the spirit race forest. His speed was neither fast nor slow. He was waiting for his subordinates to catch up. If he flew too fast, he would have already left them behind. As they sprinted, a forest soon appeared in their line of sight. As their speed became faster and faster, they arrived in front of the forest in less than a moment. One by one, the wind armaments pulled out a long sword. Every single one of them wielded a sword that was at least a mid-grade soul armament. Their equipment was of the highest quality. Compared to the Wind Divine soldiers, the Dragon soldiers were not at the same level. Although the Dragon soldiers had the help of the Earth Dragon, their speed was too slow. In the blink of an eye, the Dragon soldiers were killed. It was difficult to kill the Earth Dragon, but it was definitely not a problem to kill it slowly. In the world of martial arts, speed was the only thing that could not be defeated. They only pursued one word: speed. When they arrived in front of the forest, they did not rush in. Instead, they formed a team of sharp knives. Each of them stood there, and no one knew what they wanted to do. Elder Yang and the others, who were in the depths of the forest, were observing them. They had no idea what they wanted to do. What do they want to do? Why are they not moving? Who cares what they want to do? As long as they come in, we will kill them. Yes, as long as they enter the Mystic Trace Forest, they will not be able to enter under the full power of the Ancestor. They were confident that as long as they were under the protection of the Mystic Trace Formation, there would be no problem. Just when they thought that everything was the same as General Long, the Wind Divine soldiers began to hack at the giant trees in an orderly manner. Every sword was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, they had already slashed over 100 times. In an instant, a giant tree was cut in half, and in a short while, a giant tree was cut in half. Peng, 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 one by one, the giant trees fell down. In the blink of an eye, dozens of giant trees had fallen. Following that, they continued to hack at the next batch of giant trees. Batch after batch of giant trees were chopped down. This scene caused their faces to darken. They did not expect that the Wind Divine soldiers wanted to forcefully open a path and cut down all the giant trees. According to the situation, it would take a long time, but it would definitely be effective. The effect of the Mystic Trace Forest was completely built on the giant trees. The divine runes were carved on them. If the giant trees were to disappear, it would be equivalent to breaking the formation. And looking at the speed at which they were cutting down the trees, even if it took a long time, it would not be very long. As long as the direction was right, there would be no problem. The direction is a little off. Go this way, General Feng shouted coldly, indicating for them to cut in this direction. He held a stone plate in his hand, and there was a needle on it. It was unknown what it was used for. That's a finger compass, a compass that can point out the correct direction. There is probably a token of our spirit tribe on it, allowing them to successfully know the direction. Since we are outside, the direction will be absolutely correct. Elder Yang's expression was ugly. If they entered the Mystic Trace Forest, the finger compass would lose its effect. Under the control of the Spirit Tribe Ancestor, they would easily lose their way. Against a Divine Rune Grandmaster, the finger compass was really useless. Chapter 350. Under the command of General Feng, the Divine Wind soldiers corrected their direction time and time again. Although they managed to cut down quite a number of giant trees, the disorientating formation still affected them, so they had to constantly correct their direction. I didn't expect them to use such a violent method to break through the formation. Yi Qingxian and the rest didn't look too good. They didn't expect it to be so disgusting. It was obvious that they came prepared. General Long and the rest were trapped inside, so they obviously didn't want to follow in their footsteps. Hence, they used the least efficient method, but the effect was the most direct. That's right. If this continues, we'll definitely be found. Especially since the Divine Wind soldiers are too fast, they can move a large distance in an instant. Based on the current situation, the Spirit Tribe will be found in 3 days at most. Elder Yang roughly estimated the time. If they were to run, they would arrive at the Spirit Tribe in a short while. If they used this stupid method, they would need 3 days to find the Spirit Tribe's village. This method was stupid, but it wouldn't affect them, and they wouldn't be able to launch a sneak attack. Once they launched a sneak attack, General Feng would immediately attack them. Whether they could escape at that time was another matter. Then what should we do now? Yi Qingxuan's silver eyes were filled with worry. With so many powerful divine wind weapons, once they charged in, it would be a life-threatening existence. Just General Feng alone was enough to kill them. Even though Yi Tianyun was quite strong, he was still a little worried. Wait for the Spirit King's instructions, Elder Yang said in a low voice. The Spirit King asked us to stand guard here. Before he arrives, we can only stay here and wait for his arrival. The other elders nodded. As long as they believed that Yi Tianyun was the Spirit King, they would listen to Yi Tianyun's instructions. If they didn't listen to Yi Tianyun's instructions, then what was the point of having the Spirit King? Unless Yi Tianyun allowed them to move freely, and Yi Tianyun asked them to watch the situation at the door and wait for his arrival. Let's hope the Spirit King has a way to resolve this. Yi Qingxian was a little worried. She was worried that Yi Tianyun would kill his way out. Facing such a powerful General Feng, the pressure would be unimaginable. After they continued to go a long distance, a familiar figure finally appeared behind them, and a familiar voice rang out, "What's going on? Are they trying to get rid of this giant tree, and then kill their way over?" Spirit King. When they saw Yi Tianyun, they felt that something was wrong. They felt that Yi Tianyun had become stronger. Their intuition was right. Yi Tianyun had indeed broken through to the 7th level of core transformation stage after taking the 4 refined soul pill. Yi Tianyun's cultivation had broken through to the 7th level of core transformation stage. However, from now on, he would have to slow down. Without any large-scale quests, it would be difficult for him to level up quickly. For the time being, he could only kill monsters to level up. As for when there would be a quest, it would depend on the situation. Yes, they are using the stupidest method to attack now. They are moving forward bit by bit. If this continues, they will reach the area where we are in less than 3 days, Elder Yang said in a deep voice. 3 days. Yi Tianyun nodded his head, and then he looked up and said, "I will go and check the situation first." After that, Yi Tianyun quietly floated over, took out the ice divine bow, and quickly pulled the bow to the fullest, aiming at the wind divine weapon outside. Ice Fury. He unleashed his strongest move. Coupled with the 8 times damage mode, his strength soared all of a sudden. The next moment, a thick frost arrow shot out. The damage soared to 46 million in an instant. After the breakthrough, the damage bonus was even more amazing. All of a sudden, the ice arrow exploded in front of him, turning everything in its path into a world of ice and snow. In the blink of an eye, the Ice Fury had rushed out of the forest and rushed toward the group of wind divine weapons on the side. The moment it flew out of the forest, General Feng's eyes narrowed, and he disappeared in an instant. Soon, he appeared in front of the wind divine weapon and swung the longsword in his hand. Roar of the wind. It could be said that he stabbed out hundreds of times in an instant. A violent hurricane swept towards the Frost's Fury, turning into a thick wind dragon that roared and bit the Frost's Fury. Boom! Accompanied by a loud noise, followed by a hurricane that swept into the forest, rolling the wrath of ice inside, turning it into a blizzard, attacking in the direction of Yi Tianyun. Wherever it went, many giant trees were uprooted and swept up, and the ground was frozen. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed, and he quickly dodged to the side, easily dodging the attack of the blizzard. Although he dodged the attack of the blizzard, his heart sank, very strong. This General Feng is much stronger than General Long, they are not on the same level at all. The data displayed by appraisal eyes clearly explains the real situation. General Feng, Void Spirit Stage 4th level cultivation, holding Heavenly Wind Divine Sword, low-grade Heaven grade weapon, wearing Hurricane armor, low-grade Heaven grade equipment, wearing Hurricane boots, low-grade Heaven grade equipment, engraved with acceleration divine runes, increasing speed by 50%. Amazing speed. Current battle power as high as 48 million, in the state of erupting most of his power. Weakness: fire can restrain wind. He possessed the divine wind technique, wind rush, and wind flash. Killed, can drop heavenly wind divine sword. The power that erupted in an instant just now is as high as 48 million, directly crushing the power of his crazy mode. This is not unexpected. For existences who have reached the void spirit stage, every time they advance a level, the increase in damage is extremely astonishing. Especially that speed, it was just too fast, so fast that Yi Tianyun only saw an afterimage. Originally, the speed of the wind attribute was already very fast, but with the help of the heaven grade set, engraved with many acceleration divine runes, even Yi Tianyun was shocked. Didn't hit. General Feng stopped his attack and stared at Yi Tianyun coldly. Your strength is not bad, but still a little lacking. If you have the ability, fight me face to face. As long as you defeat me, you can protect the safety of your spirit race, otherwise, we will directly kill our way to your base. General Feng's words are tantamount to issuing a challenge, wanting to fight to the death with Yi Tianyun. With such a powerful force, it is necessary to get rid of him first. More importantly, General Feng likes to fight alone, not in the dark, preferring to fight head-on. Chapter 351. Yi Tianyun wasn't stupid enough to fight General Feng one-on-one. If he acted rashly without knowing the situation, he would easily lose. In the next moment, 3 more ice arrows appeared on the ice divine bow in Yi Tianyun's hand. He aimed at them and shot 3 arrows. Shio, shio, shio. The 3 arrows pierced in different directions. The power was definitely not as strong as the Fury of Frost, but it was enough to separate them and see if General Feng could withstand the attack. The moment the ice arrows flew out, General Feng's perception seemed to have enveloped the entire area. A sharp light flashed across his eyes. In the next moment, his body turned into a gust of wind and swept forward. He swung his sword fiercely at the ice arrow that was shot out. A gust of wind swept over. Its speed was faster than Yi Tianyun's attack, and in the blink of an eye, it caught the ice arrow and turned it into ice shards. In the next moment, he once again aimed at another frost arrow and struck it, shattering the other frost arrow. As for the last arrow, General Feng's figure flashed and appeared in front of the ice arrow. With a peng sound, it was directly pierced through. The 3 frost arrows were easily smashed by him. It was not difficult at all. It was as easy as smashing 3 stones. Such power, Yi Qingxian and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. Yi Tianyun's attack was very domineering. They had all seen the power of the ice arrows, but they were blocked so easily. However, this was completely reasonable. General Feng was a void spirit stage expert, not a cabbage that could be found on the street. It seems like this is useless against him. He can easily block them. Yi Tianyun's face darkened. He originally thought that he could kill 1 or 2 divine weapons of wind. But now, it seemed like there was no hope. He was completely targeted. As long as he attacked, he would be discovered immediately. There was no way he could do anything. When he stopped, General Feng's eyes flashed with a light as if he had turned into the eyes of an eagle. In the next moment, he stomped his foot and disappeared from the place he was standing on, and he rushed forward to kill Yi Tianyun. Everything had happened too suddenly. General Feng had rushed in and made his way to where he was. Almost instantaneously, he had already arrived in front of Yi Tianyun. Their gazes met, and General Feng thrust his sword at him without hesitation. His speed was so fast that it was hard to tell how many times he had thrust his sword. Every thrust was accompanied by a sharp sword wind that instantly enveloped Yi Tianyun. His attack was decisive and he did not hold back in the slightest. He pushed his strength to the maximum. Xian Tian Divine Art. Golden Body Formula. He displayed his double defense and did not hesitate to use the Ice Divine Bow in his hand to meet the attack. He did not use teleportation to escape. He wanted to see if he could withstand this power. Dang dang dang. As soon as Yi Tianyun swung his sword, he felt several attacks stabbing towards him. They easily pierced through his mystic heaven divine technique and stabbed into his evil dragon set. There wasn't much of a problem at first, but after a few consecutive strikes, the violent impact caused him to retreat slightly. Before this, the Ice Frost divine bow in his hand had already slashed down heavily. Dang! General Feng reacted quickly. He quickly raised the Heavenly Wind divine sword in his hand and slashed at Yi Tianyun. Crack! A crack appeared on the sturdy Ice Frost divine bow. At the same time, he was sent flying, and a violent hurricane swept towards him. Spirit King. All the elders' hearts skipped a beat. If he was swept up by this violent hurricane, then Yi Tianyun would be finished. At this moment, the red dragon spear appeared in Yi Tianyun's hand. A blood dragon instantly erupted, and the dragon god's bloodline was completely released. His strength increased by a lot. He thrust his spear at the incoming hurricane, and a bloody light flashed in his eyes. Tyrant soul! In an instant, the power of 2 blood dragons whizzed out and crashed into the hurricane. Following that, their huge physiques violently shattered the hurricane, turning it into nothingness. 20 times the strength was displayed here. Under the violent tremor, even a hurricane that could tear apart everything was shattered by him. This is General Long's ultimate skill. General Feng was stunned. He didn't expect to see General Long's ultimate skill in the hands of an outsider. However, General Feng quickly regained his senses and brandished his sword again. This time, he stabbed at Yi Tianyun. The tip of the sword clashed with the tip of the spear, and when the two collided, a dang sound could be heard. Following that, General Feng felt a violent force transmitted from the other party's spear. It pushed him back repeatedly, and he couldn't withstand it at all. He kept moving backward to neutralize this force. Shadow clone. Almost instantaneously, 3 Yi Tianyun separated from the side, holding the same red dragon spear in their hands, and thrusted at General Feng. Shock flashed across General Feng's eyes. He had never heard of this move before. He didn't even know which was the real body and which was the shadow. Regardless of which was the real body and which was the fake body, General Feng kept his sword to his waist and started spinning. Resplendent wind. In the next moment, General Feng's body turned into a hurricane and charged towards the sky. He wanted to sweep away the 4 Yi Tianyun that were surrounding him. Yi Tianyun didn't stop attacking. He stabbed forward and pierced through the air. Boom! General Feng was sent flying by the shockwave, and the 3 Yi Tianyuns were devoured by the shockwave, and then they were minced into nothingness. The real Yi Tianyun quickly retreated and silently disappeared into the fog. In this short period of time, they had exchanged countless blows. In the end, neither of them gained the upper hand. What a fast speed! Even if I can suppress him with my strength, I'm not as fast as him. I was easily dodged or knocked away. Yi Tianyun frowned. His strength was domineering enough. Even if General Feng couldn't repel his attacks, he could dodge them himself. The 3 shadow clones only had a fraction of his strength. Their defenses were even weaker and they were easily crushed. Unexpectedly, the two seemed to be evenly matched in a head-on clash. Neither could do anything to the other. In terms of who had the upper hand, it was undoubtedly General Feng. He came and went as he pleased. At this moment, he had already retreated to the outermost area and left the mystic maze forest. He held the heavenly wind divine sword and looked into the forest to see if there were any other movements. Chapter 352. Yi Tianyun knew that General Feng didn't use his full strength, which meant that General Feng didn't use his full strength. He was just probing General Feng's strength. If he really wanted to use his full strength, he would burn his blood essence and use all kinds of treasures to enhance his strength to a certain extent. This was something that every cultivator knew, and General Feng was no exception. It was just that he could deal with it with ease, so there was no need for him to do so. Your strength is not bad. Which force are you from? Could it be someone from the Heavenly Dragon Empire? Or is it an expert sent by another empire to aid the Spirit Tribe Forest? General Feng held the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword and looked coldly into the forest. General Feng had caught Yi Tianyun's attack position earlier, so he immediately rushed forward and attacked fiercely. Now that Yi Tianyun had disappeared, he naturally wouldn't rush into attack. Yi Tianyun didn't answer him. He just looked at the divine weapons of wind that were still cutting down trees. As long as they didn't kill the divine weapons of wind, they would continue to cut down trees. But the moment they rushed out of the forest, they would be immediately targeted by General Feng. In addition to General Feng, even among the divine weapons of wind, there were also core transformation stage powerhouses, so it was not easy to deal with them. It seems that you don't want to come out and fight me, you coward, General Feng sneered, but don't worry, I will move forward step by step, and then I will completely destroy the spirit race. This time, the order I received was to completely flatten the spirit tribe. Only a few of them are left alive, and the rest are to be killed. You trampled on the dignity of our Heavenly Dragon Empire. No matter who you are, As long as you go against our Netherworld Empire, you will die. General Feng coldly looked at the forest. He was overbearing, carrying out the tyranny of the Netherworld Empire. He would absolutely suppress all the forces that went against him, and he would show no mercy. Don't worry, only your Netherworld Empire will be destroyed, not us, idiot. Yi Tianyun's voice came from the forest. It was so faint that it was impossible to pinpoint the direction of the voice. Is that so? Let's wait and see. Continue to stay in the forest and hide like a coward. Let's see if you can still say such words after we attack. General Feng sneered. In the face of General Feng's threat, Yi Tianyun wasn't surprised. His eyes flickered with a black light. Looks like I can only risk it all. I'll get rid of all these divine wind soldiers, and the remaining General Feng will slowly toy with him to death. Yi Tianyun sneered. Soon after, an evil light burst out from his body. His figure flashed and turned into an evil dragon that was 100 meters long, whistling into the sky. The sudden appearance of the evil dragon stunned many people. The divine weapons of wind all stopped their swords and looked at the evil dragon in a daze. It wasn't the first time Yi Qingxian had seen it, but she was still shocked when she saw it for the second time. She hadn't asked what was going on before, mainly because she was too embarrassed to ask. She only needed to know one thing, and that was that Yi Tianyun was their king. Is that a spiritual king transformation? They were dumbfounded. This power was too shocking. The domineering evil dragon was beyond their understanding. Yes, it's a spiritual king transformation. Yi Qingxian nodded. They all clearly saw that the area where Yi Tianyun was at had turned into an evil dragon, so they couldn't hide it even if they wanted to. There was no way to hide it. Unless Yi Tianyun didn't plan to transform, no one would know. However, facing so many strong enemies, he had no choice but to transform. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to deal with these divine weapons of wind in front of General Feng. Roar! The evil dragon roared. Following that, Yi Tianyun quickly pounced towards the divine weapons of wind. A huge dragon claw slammed down, and the violent power was like a huge mountain crashing down. Everything in its path would definitely be smashed into ruins. How did this come out? General Feng was shocked, but he didn't stop at all. With a light tap of his foot, he turned into a hurricane and stabbed the divine sword of heavenly wind. In an instant, the tip of the sword shone with a dazzling light. It was as if the wind had reached its peak, and rays of light burst forth. Resplendent wind. Swish, swish, swish. In the blink of an eye, he had reached Yi Tianyun's side. He aimed at the thick dragon and slashed down. It could be said that he used all his strength in an attempt to cut the dragon's body in half. However, after he slashed down, a clang was heard. The violent rebounding force pushed General Feng back slightly. Under this violent slash, only a shallow wound was left on Yi Tianyun's skin, but the super strong power still suppressed Yi Tianyun. The damage wasn't great, but it didn't mean that he wouldn't be sent flying. It was like a huge rock. Even if you couldn't smash it, you could still push it. Yi Tianyun only felt a strong force coming at him, but he didn't care. He used this force to suppress the divine weapons of wind. The divine weapons of wind turned pale and quickly fled to the side, but their speed was no match for Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun twisted his huge body and swung his dragon claw at the divine weapons of wind. Boom! A large area was smashed, and several divine weapons of wind were flattened by Yi Tianyun's palm. Successfully killed divine weapon of wind. Reward, 250,000 EXP, 3,100 crazy point, 200 SPS. Obtained martial art strong wind secret art, strong wind slash. Reward, strong wind sword, strong wind boots, strong wind armor. Ding. Successfully killed wind divine weapon. Reward, 380. 000 EXP, 4300 crazy point, 250 SPS. Ding. Successfully killed. With one slap, 3 divine weapons of wind were instantly killed. Their cultivation was not weak, but Yi Tianyun's strength was more overbearing. With the evil dragon set, his strength increased by 20 times. Even General Feng couldn't compete with him, let alone these soldiers. Bastard! General Feng's indifferent expression suddenly turned into anger. His subordinates were killed, so he was naturally furious. Holding the divine wind sword in his hand, Yi Tianyun attacked Yi Tianyun again. A shadow immediately appeared behind him, forming a wind dragon wrapped around his body. General Feng's hollow spirit is a wind dragon. No wonder his speed is so amazing. It turns out that he has a wind dragon as his foundation. Chapter 353. After General Feng transformed into a wind dragon, his strength increased by several folds and his battle prowess skyrocketed. He waved the heavenly wind divine sword in his hand and the surrounding wind was controlled by him. In an instant, it turned into a huge wind blade and slashed down at Yi Tianyun. The thick wind blade was over a dozen feet long. Although it wasn't as long as Yi Tianyun's dragon body, its power was absolutely astonishing. A mere worm dares to call itself a dragon? Scram! Yi Tianyun twisted his huge body and swung it at General Feng. The domineering dragon tail was like a huge black whip as it lashed out fiercely. The space shook as if it was going to shatter the void. Boom! The two collided and were both sent flying. However, it was obvious that General Feng's strength was a notch higher. He was only sent flying for a few dozen meters while Yi Tianyun directly smashed him into the ground and pressed him down. Rumble! Yi Tianyun's huge body pressed down on many wind divine weapons and flattened them. Once again, a few wind divine weapons were crushed to death and he immediately gained a lot of experience. Spirit King. The elders watching from the side had their hearts in their throats. They really wanted to rush out, but they were stopped and didn't dare to act rashly. Yi Tianyun warned them not to move recklessly. If General Feng made a move, they would definitely die. Sometimes, making a move would only be a burden. Naturally, Yi Tianyun was fine. He only suffered a little injury on his body. It was just a scar on his body. It had to be said that the might of the attack was very strong. However, his defense was even more domineering. With the Xiantian divine art and golden body secret art stacked together with the dragon god secret art, his defense had reached a heaven-defying level. He knew that his damage was definitely not as good as General Feng's. However, his defense might not be the same. He could definitely withstand General Feng's attack and would only have a slight effect on him. No matter how the opponent attacked, Yi Tianyun could withstand it easily. He could even make use of this impact to sweep towards the divine weapons of wind, slapping many of them to death. Shortly after, it suddenly soared into the sky and opened its huge mouth to form a black hole. It swallowed all the spiritual energy in the surroundings, even the broken spiritual trees were sucked in. The surging suction force caused many of the wind god soldiers to be startled, and they quickly retreated. If they got too close, or if they couldn't stand steadily, they would definitely be sucked into the black hole. Yi Tianyun's devouring power wasn't about devouring the wind divine weapon. If it could be devoured, the effect would be even better. Under the effect of swallowing like a whale, the surrounding trees and spiritual power were all sucked in. General Feng didn't budge an inch under this suction force. It had no effect on him at all. However, he was already condensing his spiritual energy. The entire heavenly wind divine sword flickered with a pale green light and constantly vibrated. The ground around the sword kept emitting whoosh 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 sounds, and countless cuts appeared on the ground. Its defense is too strong. This evil dragon's strength is a bit too strong. It's just that its cultivation is a bit low. Otherwise, I really would have been suppressed. General Feng was extremely shocked. He didn't think that there would be a huge evil dragon in the forest. Its strength was truly frightening. Especially after using his full strength, he was only able to leave a mark on the ground. He immediately felt a sense of defeat. He hadn't felt this way in a long time. In the past, it was invincible. Now, he couldn't even cut through it and was even sent flying. I'd like to see how long you can suck for. General Feng fiercely swung his sword and leaped into the air. He turned into a wind dragon and whizzed forward. The surrounding wind attribute formed a layer of energy around him. In an instant, it was as if he had really turned into a wind dragon and faced the evil dragon. Facing General Feng, Yi Tianyun was almost done accumulating power. He suddenly aimed at General Feng and spat out a mouthful of energy. Earth erosion. A terrifying pillar of black light shot out from his mouth and directly landed on General Feng. The wind dragon's shadow around him instantly shrank by half. It even continued to weaken under this terrifying corrosive force. The remaining black pillars of light pressed down heavily on other places. Wherever they went, they were corroded until they were charred black, as if they had been burned by fire. However, if one looked closely, the black energy would even seep in and continue to corrode deeper places. After the flames burned, they would completely disappear. They only burned on the surface, but this black energy would seep in deeper and more thoroughly. Some of the divine weapons of wind that couldn't escape in time were hit by the black pillar of light. Black flames immediately ignited on their bodies and burned into their bodies, causing them to scream in pain. They couldn't shake it off no matter how hard they tried. They could only scream and fall to the ground. In the end, they were completely burned to death by the flames. The black pillar of light was essentially fire, and fire just happened to restrain General Feng, successfully restrained the wind attribute. Damage increased by 0.5 times. Overall combat power, 49 million. Raw. The thick black flame abruptly intensified, instantly crushing the phantom released by General Feng. Only a small layer of power was left on the outside. General Feng was still extremely stubborn. He continued charging over and stabbed his sword at the evil dragon's head. Resplendent wind. Buzz. The heavenly wind divine sword trembled. A pale green pillar of light shot out and split the incoming flames in half. Finally, the sword slashed down. How could Yi Tianyun just sit and wait for death? A red spear suddenly shot out from his mouth. It turned into a red light that pierced through and collided with the heavenly wind divine sword. Clang. General Feng was sent flying. The red dragon spear ruthlessly pierced through the ground. It directly sank into the end of the spear and basically disappeared from the ground. This can even use a weapon. After General Feng was sent flying, he was extremely shocked. How could he spit out a weapon? The evil dragon was transformed by Yi Tianyun. Of course, he could use a weapon. He directly shot it out from his mouth and its might was equally shocking. In order to successfully resist General Feng, it didn't matter if he couldn't retrieve this weapon. As long as he could suppress the divine weapons of wind here, it would be half the battle. He was very satisfied with the result. After sending General Feng flying, he opened his mouth and continued to spit out black flames. The black flames instantly engulfed the land and even swept up many divine weapons of wind. Twisting his thick body, he charged down. Apart from spewing fire, he also used his dragon body to press down, directly flattening them. Chapter 354. No matter how ferocious their attacks were, when they hit Yi Tianyun's body, it was like an itch and nothing happened. This was the benefit of having an absolute defense. His strength might not be as great as General Feng's, but if his defense was strong enough, he could still dominate the world. When the opponent couldn't hurt him, Yi Tianyun was already in an invincible position and was the victor. Fighting with General Feng, his strength might not be able to reach the level of killing him instantly, but couldn't he just slowly exhaust him to death? However, Yi Tianyun wasn't interested in General Feng at all. He just whizzed towards the divine wind troops in front of him, causing them to wail like ghosts and howl like wolves. They couldn't hurt them, nor could they run away. They were fast, but could they be faster than Yi Tianyun? Is the Spirit King's true form a dragon? His strength is too domineering. General Feng's strength can't hurt him at all. Yeah, if I was hit by this strength, I would definitely die. It was the same against General Long before, and he was killed by the Spirit King. However, General Feng's strength is stronger, and the Spirit King can't deal with him easily, but he can't hurt him either. Yi Qingxian was engrossed in watching from the side. Her silver eyes flickered with excitement. How could she not be excited when Yi Tianyun was able to gallop on the battlefield? Then let's take advantage of the fact that General Feng is busy with the Spirit King to get rid of those escaping divine wind troop. Elder Yang's eyes were filled with killing intent. We can't just stay here and watch. The Spirit King wants us to stay here, but the situation is different now. If we continue like this, those divine wind troops will escape. They didn't want to stay here forever. That would make them look too useless, and they could only rely on Yi Tianyun. Alright, let's go and kill those that are alone. Don't get caught up in the fight, and come back immediately if anything goes wrong. Yi Qingxian immediately agreed to this decision. Many divine wind troops were about to escape from the forest, and even with General Feng's shocking speed, he wouldn't be able to rush over immediately. Therefore, they acted with ease. If it was in the previous situation, they definitely wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Go. All of them nodded and rushed out. All of a sudden, a sword light, a saber light, or even a silver whip flickered, followed by the wind divine weapon, and was sent flying. Under this ferocious attack, even if he didn't die, he would be heavily injured. Halfway through, a few experts appeared and stopped the escaping divine wind soldiers, causing them to stop in their tracks and not dare to continue running. Bastard, you're too despicable. You actually launched a sneak attack from behind. General Feng roared. He knew that the situation wasn't right. The divine wind soldiers had to retreat immediately. Otherwise, they would definitely be killed by Yi Tianyun. What a terrifying defensive power. He had already erupted with his full strength. All that was left was to ignite his essence blood. However, he felt that even if he ignited his essence blood, it would still be extremely difficult to deal with it. This skin was just too thick. No matter how he slashed at it, he couldn't cut through it. What was the use? He let out a low roar, and his body flickered with a faint green light as he quickly charged forward. He couldn't hurt Yi Tianyun, but he could easily kill Yi Qingxian and the others to vent his anger. Your Netherworld Empire, you still have the cheek to say that we're despicable. Yi Tianyun twisted his body, and suddenly flew over, intercepting in front of him, and slammed the sharp claws in his hand towards him. Damn it, get out of my way. A green light shot out from General Feng's eyes. The dragon scales on his body became thicker and thicker. His blood and qi were completely ignited. Suddenly, his combat power skyrocketed and reached the level of 53 million. Yi Tianyun completely ignored General Feng's eruption and raised his dragon claws. Boom. Both of them were pushed back. General Feng's situation was still okay. He was only pushed back a few dozen meters. On the other hand, Yi Tianyun was pushed back even further. His huge dragon body was pushed back. It looked even more shocking from afar. It looked like a huge mountain was pushed back. However, this domineering sword only left a mark on the dragon claws. It did not cut the dragon claws in half. It was still too difficult to break through his defense. Yi Tianyun was confident that he could withstand General Feng's attack. Unless General Feng's cultivation was a level higher, he would be able to withstand it. The evil dragon set was not a waste of 100,000 sin points. Its powerful defense and domineering power were the most direct and violent effects. After he was sent flying, he twisted his dragon body and threw himself to the side, slamming into a giant tree and stopping. Then, he twisted his body and went to kill the divine weapon of wind. He couldn't be bothered with General Feng anymore. Bastard! General Feng roared in anger. This made him really angry. No matter how much power he used, he couldn't kill this evil dragon easily. His attack was blocked. He can only watch as his men are constantly beheaded, and as soon as he rushes forward, he will be stopped by Yi Tianyun, unable to rescue them. Some of the divine weapons of wind could only be forced into the forest. Little did they know that the moment they stepped into the forest, they were also walking into a real dead end. Very good, very good. For the dignity of the Empire, I want you dead. General Feng gritted his teeth and roared at Yi Tianyun. Go. Yi Tianyun twisted his body and dove into the forest. Then, he quickly disappeared. When Yi Qingxian and the others saw this, they all rushed into the forest. The remaining 3 divine weapons of wind couldn't be bothered to chase after them. They directly hid in the forest and disappeared into the fog. At this moment, General Feng was stunned. In the blink of an eye, they ran away. He was just about to unleash his power, but the other party had already run away. What was the point of chasing? The remaining 3 divine weapons of wind looked at each other. They thought that they were dead for sure. They didn't expect the other party to run away. Coward, you bunch of cowards. If you have the ability, come out and fight me, General Feng shouted hysterically. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. There were only 2 or 3 divine weapons of wind left. How was he going to break the formation and kill his way into the spirit tribe's village? The efficiency was too low. How long would he have to fight for? Idiot, didn't I just fight with you? You can't even move me, and you call me a coward? Besides, if you have the ability, come in. Stop whining outside. Yi Tianyun had already returned to his human form. His face was pale. Chapter 355. Yi Tianyun's shouts infuriated General Feng. He knew that once he entered the forest, he would definitely fall into a maze. At that time, he would be at a disadvantage, and he might even end up like General Long, never to come out again. However, according to the current situation, the remaining 2 or 3 wind divine weapons could not continue with the previous plan. Looking at the remaining 2 or 3 divine wind soldiers, General Feng was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Just like that, everyone was killed right under his nose. The Netherworld Great Emperor had sent him here because he believed that he would be able to destroy the spirit race. Moreover, he had sent him here under the watchful eyes of everyone. This meant that his success or failure was closely related to the Netherworld Empire's face. If he couldn't break through the spirit race's defenses, it would be tantamount to losing. At that time, the Netherworld Empire's prestige would plummet. The fact that such a weak race was able to withstand his attack made both him and the Netherworld Empire lose face. The number of wind divine weapons under his command had become few and far between. He had spent a lot of effort to nurture them, but the number of wind divine weapons remaining could be counted on one hand. What a tragic ending this was. As one of his symbols, the divine wind weapon had become the lame wind weapon. If he wanted to continue cultivating so many divine weapons of wind, he would need to spend even more resources. The more he thought about it, the more he wanted to vomit blood. Ah, I want you to die. General Feng seemed to have gone mad as he roared at the sky. His eyes then narrowed as he stared fixedly at the huge tree in front of him. Then, he suddenly stomped on the ground, and with a loud bang, a gust of wind rolled up from under his feet, sending him flying. He held the heavenly wind divine sword in his hand and slashed at the giant tree in front of him. Basically, he could cut down a giant tree in 2 strikes. Most of the time, he could cut down the giant tree with 1 strike. He did not lose his mind and charge into the forest. Instead, he personally chopped down the trees. He did not believe that he could not kill his way into the spirit race's village. As long as Yi Tianyun reappeared, he would immediately suppress him. This was undoubtedly the simplest method. Not only would they be able to advance slowly, but they would also be able to wait for Yi Tianyun to charge out. This was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Damn it, he wants to kill his way in personally. At this rate, it will take him a little longer, but it won't be more than a week before he can kill his way into our village. Elder Yang looked around and made a rough estimate. General Feng was indeed weak, but he alone was enough to take down half of the divine weapons of wind. The speed at which he chopped down the trees was equally astonishing. It was clearly an extremely tough tree, but under this heavenly wind divine sword, it was as fragile as tofu. It was sliced into pieces with 1 strike. Yi Tianyun had already gathered with them. Looking at the situation, his expression was extremely grim. It was obvious that General Feng was completely enraged. Yes, he was enraged, but he did not lose his rationality. He maintained his rationality and continued to chop down trees, using the stupidest method to charge into the astral village. It seems that if I don't kill him, I won't be able to stop his advance. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with a bit of cold light. He was ready to step forward and fight with General Feng again. Although he couldn't do anything to General Feng also couldn't do anything to him. So if they fight head-on, Yi Tianyun believed that he would be able to crush General Feng to death. General Feng was like a powerful elite monster. Yi Tianyun's damage wasn't enough, so he could only slowly exhaust General Feng bit by bit. Relying on his own replenishment, coupled with his good defense, he could slowly exhaust General Feng to death. If his cultivation was higher, he wouldn't be in so much pain. The difference in cultivation between the two was huge. Defense could make up for it, but damage couldn't. Or if his crazy mode was upgraded, then General Feng would definitely be crushed by him. But he still needed a lot of crazy points. It's not easy to accumulate tens of millions of crazy points. Although he had a lot of crazy points now, he still needed a lot of crazy points. Even if he sold all his loot, it would still not be enough. He still needed a few million crazy points. Spirit King, you consumed a lot of crazy points just now. If you continue like this, I'm afraid. Yi Qingxuan's beautiful eyes were filled with worry. The other elders also felt the same. Yi Tianyun's face was pale. This is the best proof. If I don't do this, he will soon come to our village. Yi Tianyun said solemnly, no matter what the result is, we must immediately prepare to evacuate from here. We already know the solution, so even if we evacuate from here, there won't be any problem. And even if I can kill General Feng, I think their Imperial Preceptor will soon come, or Netherworld Great Emperor will also come. They won't be able to swallow this anger. 2 of their generals died here. How can Netherworld Empire not be angry? The next time they come, they will definitely send a stronger force. It is a completely vicious cycle. Unless Netherworld Great Emperor is killed, there is no way to stop Netherworld Empire's anger. Although Yi Tianyun didn't know how strong the Netherworld Great Emperor was, he was sure that the Netherworld Great Emperor was much stronger than General Feng, so he had to run away. He didn't mind giving up temporarily, as long as he was still alive. Yes, I also have this idea. After we know what the curse is, we have already thought of a way to evacuate. Although there is some reluctance, but this is the only way for now. If we don't retreat, we will die. If that's the case, then hurry up and prepare to evacuate from here. I'm going to delay him here so that he won't notice anything wrong. If he catches up, we won't be able to escape. Yi Tianyun said. They nodded. They immediately know what to do. Thank you, Spirit King. We will evacuate our people first. When the time comes, we will wait for you at the edge of Tianyu Lake. We have a secret hideout there. They did not waste any more time and immediately got up and ran towards the village. Saintus, wait. Yi Tianyun hurriedly shouted. What's wrong? Yi Qingxian asked curiously. Remember to pull out the soul accumulating grass for me. We can't let Netherworld Empire take advantage of it. Yi Tianyun reminded. Yi Qingxian rolled her eyes. She thought that he is going to say something, but it turns out that he is thinking about the soul accumulating grass in the pond. We will definitely take it. As long as it is important, we will take it. Nothing will be left. Yi Qingxian said. That's fine. I'll look for you when I get out of here. Yi Tianyun smiled and said. This is the experience grass. He remembered that there are 3 soul accumulating grass in the pond. It is equivalent to hundreds of millions of experience points. How can he miss it? My king, we will wait for your return. Yi Qingxuan's silver eyes flashed with a bit of worry. She looked at him for the last time, turned around and ran away. Don't worry, I will easily escape. Yi Tianyun turned his eyes back to General Feng, thinking about how to kill General Feng here. Chapter 356. There were many ways to escape. For example, using instant movement would allow one to escape without any difficulty. Especially since there were so many forests here, General Feng wouldn't be able to find him. What he needed now was a way to kill General Feng. He needed to kill this General Feng above his level. For the people of the Netherworld Empire, killing one of them was a good thing, especially when they were at the Void Spirit stage. Then, they would be able to kill another group of powerhouses, which would undoubtedly be a strong motivation for them. How should I deal with him? Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. He wanted to see if there was a way to give him an advantage. Immediately, he began to rummage through his inventory, or the items in the shop. Soon, he found something in the Sin shop. Level 50 equipment. Evil Spirits set, requires level 50. After wearing it, the wearer can transform into evil spirits at any time. All strength increased by 50 times, defense increased by 50 times, speed increased by 10 times. When the wearer enters evil spirits mode, all attacks become long-range attacks. They can attack anything within 10 miles. Also, they have a burning effect. Critical hit rate increased by 20%. This was the enhanced version of the Evil Dragon set. It seemed like it would only appear after buying the Evil Dragon set. At the very least, there was no new equipment set above the Sword Master equipment set. It was obviously an upgraded version, and the new equipment set could only appear after purchasing it. This effect was simply heaven-defying. Not only was it 50 times stronger, but it could also become a long-range attack, and it could even attack a range of 10 li. After seeing the price of 1 million sin points, he could only silently close the sin shop. He couldn't afford it at all. Even if he had 1 million sin points, his level was still not high enough. He needed to be at least level 50, which meant that he had to break through to the peak of core transformation stage to be able to buy it. Of course, he didn't know if he would be able to accumulate 1 million sin points. How many evil people would he need to kill to get that many sin points? He looked through the heavenly thunder divine bead and other treasures, but they were not very useful in this place. Some of the treasures were quite powerful, but they were of little use against General Feng. It could be said that they were negligible. I know what to do now. His eyes lit up, and he immediately spent a large sum of money in the merchant shop. After exchanging for some items, he quickly transformed into an evil dragon and pounced toward General Feng, who was crazily chopping down trees. Just in time. When General Feng saw this, a cold light shot out from his eyes. He swung the heavenly wind divine sword in his hand and slashed at Yi Tianyun. Shadow clone. In the next moment, Yi Tianyun's body suddenly trembled. His body flickered, and the 3 evil dragons appeared beside him. They were of the same size, and the auras they released were also exactly the same. In an instant, he was confused as to who was the real one. So it's this move. It's meaningless to me. General Feng's eyes turned cold as the blood in his body started to burn. This time, he was going all out. He was determined to make Yi Tianyun stay. After thoroughly stimulating the blood essence in his body, his strength suddenly rose by a large margin, reaching an extremely strong strength, breaking through almost 60 million battle power. If he didn't even have this little bit of combat power, then it would be a waste of his blood essence. After igniting his blood essence, both his strength and speed had increased by a large margin. He fiercely swung the heavenly wind divine sword in his hand in mid-air, and with a whoosh, he disappeared in the air. It wasn't that he disappeared, but that his speed was so fast that people couldn't clearly see where he was. Yi Tianyun only saw an afterimage appear on the side. It was flashing, and he couldn't catch it at all. This speed was too fast. After General Feng used all his strength, he was really as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of Luo Yunyang and ruthlessly slashed down. A gust of wind transformed into an incomparably sharp blade light that slashed down. When it slashed past one of the evil dragons, it was easily cut off. Without a doubt, this was a fake. The defense of the clone was far weaker than the real one, so it was easily cut off. The moment it was cut off, the clone turned into powder with a bang. General Feng didn't stop and continued to swing to the side, slashing at another evil dragon. Clang! This slash seemed to have hit a hard iron plate. There was no doubt that he had hit the right person. This was indeed Yi Tianyun's real body. Yi Tianyun wasn't sent flying by this swift and violent slash. Instead, he forcefully pushed forward. His aura instantly surged. After consuming the berserk elixir that he had bought earlier, he could temporarily increase his explosive power by 2 times. Because his cultivation was too high, his explosive power was still relatively limited. He even had to ignite his blood essence. His combat power skyrocketed, but it was still inferior to General Feng's strength. There was still a huge gap between the two of them. Although there was a gap in strength, Yi Tianyun still stubbornly pushed forward and clashed with General Feng. The 2 evil dragon doppelgangers on the side had already charged over. The 2 evil dragons aimed at General Feng and spat out black flames. 2 thick black flames shot out and immediately enveloped General Feng. However, they only covered the surface and didn't enter his body. "You want to hurt me with mere flames?" General Feng sneered. "So these are your clones? No matter how tough you are today, you will still be cut in half by me." Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up as he fought with General Feng. One of the evil dragon's mouth spewed out flames, and suddenly, a medicinal pill flashed and rushed towards General Feng's body along with the flames. The pill penetrated General Feng's protective shield and entered his body. This elixir wasn't a recovery elixir, but a bad luck elixir. This bad luck elixir wasn't an ordinary elixir. There were many things that couldn't stop this elixir from entering one's body. Unless one dodged it, it would enter one's body. When he saw the bad luck elixir silently enter his body, Yi Tianyun revealed a smile and said softly, "Activate, bad luck elixir." Ding! Successfully activated the effects of the bad luck elixir. Effect lasts for 5 minutes. Just as he finished speaking, General Feng, who was slashing over, suddenly felt that something was wrong with his body. Following that, the green dragon scales on the surface of his body trembled and suddenly disappeared. At the same time, a wave of energy exploded from within his body. Fart! Streams of blood spurted out from the surface of his body. General Feng screamed and fell from the sky. He spun a few times in the air before landing on the ground. What's going on? I actually suffered a backlash. General Feng was shocked. Chapter 357. Seeing that General Feng was suffering from the backlash, Yi Tianyun's eyes revealed a cold glint. He instantly opened his mouth and spat out black flames that enveloped General Feng. Take advantage of his weakness to kill him. This was the effect he needed. After browsing through the shop for a while, he finally settled on the Berserk pill and Bad Luck pill. The combination of these two would have a great effect. Especially the Bad Luck pill. If he were to fight with the other party, it would definitely give him an advantage. Although it wasn't an absolute advantage, it would at least have a certain interference effect. The current situation was the best proof. After receiving the effects of the Bad Luck pill, General Feng immediately suffered from the backlash and his battle prowess plummeted. When the black flames swept over, General Feng hurriedly dodged to the side. However, he had only taken 2 steps when his leg suddenly hooked onto a sturdy tree vine. It wrapped around him and he fell to the ground with a pah. Following that, the black flames enveloped him and completely burned him. Ah! General Feng screamed in pain. Due to the backlash, he couldn't release his spiritual energy to block it. He could only use the armor he was wearing to block it. However, even armor required spiritual energy to be infused in order to release its effects. Therefore, the black flames successfully ignited him and burned the surface of his body, causing him to scream in pain. Scram! General Feng let out a furious roar and hurriedly circulated the energy within his body. In the next instant, he finally managed to suppress the power of the backlash. Following that, he unleashed a burst of energy which exploded in all directions with a boom. The black flames wrapped around his body were all dispersed. However, a large area of his body was still charred and looked terrible. The black flames restrained him in the first place. Therefore, after it was ignited, the effect was very obvious. Poochie, after General Feng dispersed the black flames on his body, he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. After the backlash was forcefully broken through, it caused him quite a bit of damage. Coupled with the fact that he was burning his blood essence, it could be said that he was now even more injured than before. In the next moment, Yi Tianyun had already charged over. He didn't know when he had transformed back into his human form. He even wielded the Red Dragon Divine Spear and wore the Red Dragon Battle Armor and Red Dragon Battle Boots. He immediately equipped a set of sage equipment. Ding! Successfully equipped the Red Dragon Divine Spear. Ding! Successfully equipped the Red Dragon Battle Armor. Ding! Successfully equipped the Red Dragon Battle Boots. Ding! You have successfully equipped the Red Dragon Equipment Set. You have gained 12 times your strength and 5 times your defense. There is also a chance to release the Red Dragon's shadow when attacking. Ding! Consumes 5,000 crazy point to cast Red Dragon's Roar. The defense of the Red Dragon equipment set was far inferior to that of the Evil Dragon equipment set, but it had a significant advantage in terms of strength. At the very least, it was a level stronger than the Evil Dragon set equipment, and it would allow him to become even more powerful. The Evil Dragon equipment set was extremely effective in group battles. After all, its large body could deal with more enemies. Coupled with its thick defense, it could become an extremely powerful meat shield. For now, he did not need it. He needed more power to kill this General Feng in a one-on-one fight. Taking advantage of General Feng's injuries, he ruthlessly defeated him. Ding! Consuming Gale God Pill. Then, he swallowed a Blast Divine Pill, and his speed instantly increased by several times. With a shrill sound, his crimson figure drew out a red afterimage, and fiercely charged towards General Feng. Just in time. General Feng needed to face Yi Tianyun head-on. He held the Heavenly Wind Divine Sword in his hand and stabbed towards Yi Tianyun, but two black flames swept towards his back. So he can only quickly dodge to the side, but Yi Tianyun is already there, fiercely stabbing forward. Yi Tianyun's speed actually caught up with General Feng, which surprised the other party. How did his speed suddenly increase so much? The moment he approached General Feng, he consumed 5,000 crazy point. Red Dragon's roar. Roar. A giant red dragon roared out from his body, instantly opening its huge mouth to spit out a red beam of light, forcing General Feng to swing his sword to block it. Streaks of wind blades slashed over. However, this red beam of light was not an ordinary attack, but a fire attack. When it came into contact with General Feng's wind attribute, it instantly activated the power of the damage bonus. Dong. Yi Tianyun's combat power suddenly increased to 55 million. Compared to General Feng's previous combat power, it was still a little worse, but in a battle, if the opponent was weaker, it would be a different story. General Feng let out a low snort before his body was penetrated by the flames. He was completely engulfed by the flames and was rapidly set ablaze. Just when he was covered by the flame, two more black flames came from his back. The two evil dragon clones on the side were not just for decoration, and kept attacking him. Their power was far inferior to Yi Tianyun's, but they were definitely not weak. They both had the power of Spirit Core, and no one would complain about it. I want you to die. General Feng bellowed, and a dazzling light burst out from his body, dispersing the flames wrapping around his body. His hair was disheveled and densely packed veins flickered on his body. It was as though he had gone mad, unleashing all of his power. General Feng did not expect that after suffering so many attacks, he could still recover and increase his power again. Then, ignoring the attacks behind him, he sprinted towards Yi Tianyun, thrusting his sword at him. Shio. The next moment, the sword pierced through Yi Tianyun's shoulder, and blood splattered to the side. Fortunately, he dodged quickly, or else there would really be a bloody hole on his shoulder. You should be the one to die. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed. It seemed that the bad luck divine pill was also unable to control everything. Now, he could only rely on himself. He raised the red dragon divine spear and rushed over, colliding with the opponent's weapon. Dang! 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 After a few consecutive attacks, a red dragon shadow suddenly whizzed out from the red dragon divine spear, biting towards General Feng. Although the power was not shocking, it won in the suddenness. Bang! The violent attack landed on General Feng's body, causing his body to tremble, and his face became a bit pale. However, he did not retreat, and instead fiercely attacked again. He waved his astonishing long sword and stabbed several times in a row, and several wind blade slashes turned into a green light that pierced through. Shadow Cloak. Yi Tianyun used the Shadow Cloak without hesitation, and was invincible for 5 seconds. 5 seconds was enough for him to burst out a lot of attacks. Bang, bang, bang. 3 wind blade slashes flew over, and then disappeared into the Shadow Cloak, not causing any damage to him. General Feng was stunned. He did not expect his attack to be ineffective. Chapter 358. Dang, dang, dang. Roar. After a few stabs, the red dragon's phantom attack was triggered again. It roared and slammed into General Feng's body. Yi Tianyun's attacks became more and more ferocious and coherent. Every time he attacked, a red dragon's phantom attack would be released, pushing General Feng back a few steps. On the other hand, his attacks had no effect at all as they were all absorbed by the Shadow Cloak. However, after absorbing a few more times, the Shadow Cloak on General Feng's body was broken. It didn't even last 5 seconds before it was destroyed. It was obvious that after absorbing to a certain level, it would still be destroyed. Especially when the opponent's attacks were so powerful. Nothing was truly invincible, and the Shadow Cloak was no exception. After exceeding a certain level, it was inevitable that it would be destroyed. After it was destroyed, Yi Tianyun didn't stop attacking. He continued to clash with General Feng and see who could last until the end. Dang, dang, dang. The weapons collided with each other again and again, but General Feng's power was getting weaker and weaker. Under Yi Tianyun's attack, General Feng was forced to retreat again and again, and it seemed like he was losing his strength. After suffering a few attacks in a row and suffering from the backlash, even if he had a final burst of energy, it was only for a short moment. After the shadow cloak blocked a few of his attacks, General Feng was already running out of energy. All that was left was to take a beating. The two just remained silent like that. The only sounds that could be heard were the footsteps, the clashing of weapons, and the sound of weapons piercing through bodies. Swish, swish, swish. Another few wind blades swept over and ruthlessly cut into Yi Tianyun's body. Although he was wearing the Red Dragon battle armor, he still couldn't avoid a few deep cuts. Armor wasn't invincible and could only block a portion of the power. Especially when the power exceeded a certain range, it would penetrate the surface of the armor and cause damage to the body. It wasn't just the surface of the armor that would cause damage to the body. The penetration power of spiritual energy was very strong. Sometimes, before the armor was damaged, the body of the person wearing it had already collapsed. Yi Tianyun was expressionless. He ignored the injuries on his body and continued to smash down with the red dragon spear in his hand. The power he erupted with was not much weaker than General Feng's. After a few consecutive attacks, he immediately summoned the Red Dragon Phantom. Just this alone was enough to widen the distance between them little by little. When General Feng was continuously pushed back, the outcome of the battle was already decided. Let go. Yi Tianyun suddenly raised his spear and ruthlessly smashed it against General Feng's arm. With a pa sound, General Feng's arm twisted backwards from the impact. At the same time, the heavenly wind divine sword in his hand was sent flying. After spinning a few rounds in the air, it finally sank into the giant tree. General Feng had a shocked expression on his face. He never thought that the speed that he was so proud of would lose to a junior tyrant soul. At this moment, Yi Tianyun saw the opportunity. His eyes flickered with two dragon souls as they whizzed over and stabbed at General Feng's chest. Two dragon souls burst out from the spear, followed by another red dragon phantom. Suddenly, 3 red dragon phantom images appeared and ruthlessly smashed over. Boom! General Feng didn't even have time to dodge. He could only watch as the attack landed on his body and sent him flying. After flying for a long distance, he crashed into a huge tree. Bang, 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 he smashed through the giant trees one after another. After smashing through a few giant trees, he smashed into the last giant tree. His entire body caved in as if he was embedded inside. PFFF, General Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was as pale as a sheet and he looked rather terrifying. His last breath was forced out by Yi Tianyun, causing him to be completely exhausted. He didn't have the slightest bit of strength to use. He had burned his blood essence for too long, causing him to be severely overdrawn. His last bit of strength had been forced out. He was destined to lose. Impossible, impossible. How can I lose? I am the invincible general. In the end, General Feng still stared at Yi Tianyun. However, his gaze was gradually collapsing. Yi Tianyun's attack wasn't light and had damaged most of his internal organs. He wouldn't be able to live for long. The invincible general? There will always be a time when you lose. Yi Tianyun walked over step by step. His body was drenched in blood. He had suffered many attacks, causing his body to suffer many injuries. However, that was all. He didn't suffer any internal injuries. His current defense was much weaker than when he was wearing the evil dragon set. This was true, but his mystic heaven divine art and golden body manual weren't just for show. He also had the power of the dragon god's bloodline and powerful recovery ability. He didn't have to worry about anything. There would definitely be injuries, but they wouldn't be that bad. When Yi Tianyun killed General Long, he also obtained the dragon god's bloodline. After fusing with it, his dragon god's bloodline was upgraded to the 4th level. This was the reason why he dared to change to the red dragon set. He believed that his physique wouldn't be as weak as he thought. You win. General Feng reluctantly smiled, but it's useless. As long as you stay here, the Netherworld Empire will trample this place and kill you all. Poochie, The red dragon spear pierced his body. Yi Tianyun didn't hesitate to pierce his body. He didn't want to waste time talking to him. Don't worry, I will send them to hell and reunite with you. Yi Tianyun pulled out the red dragon spear again, and blood spurted out from his chest. General Feng fell from the giant tree and fell heavily on the ground, and there was no trace of life left in him. Yi Tianyun didn't know if General Feng could hear his last words. Ding! Successfully killed General Feng. Reward, 7,200,000 EXP, 20,000 Crazy Point, 1,000 SPS. Reward, Wind Divine Art, Wind Rush, Wind Flash. Reward, Heavenly Wind Divine Sword, Hurricane Armor, Hurricane Boots, Low-Grade Sacred Tool Set. Wind Stone, Rare. Ding! Reward, 30 million EXP, 100. 000 Crazy Point, 5. 000 SPS, 1 Enhanced Lottery Roulette Ticket. A bunch of rewards popped up. The reward for killing a higher-level expert was quite good. Maybe it wasn't a lot, but overall it was still very good. In particular, there was an additional chance to draw the lottery roulette, which added up to 2 chances. Chapter 359. It's finally over. Yi Tianyun took a deep breath. This difficult battle was finally over. If he hadn't used some skills, he wouldn't have been able to deal with General Feng. Just a bad luck divine pill was enough to injure him, causing his fighting strength to drop sharply. Because of this, he couldn't use his full strength. He could only use the strength of a second-level Void Spirit Stage expert. Especially towards the end, his attacks were too weak to last for too long. After suffering so many attacks, it was hard for him not to die. Fighting someone of a higher level was not something that could be done casually. Just relying on brute force was not enough. Sometimes, one needed to scheme. Otherwise, there was no way he could deal with this General Feng. It was too difficult to rely on brute force to fight against someone stronger than him. No matter what, he had successfully killed General Feng, and there was one less threat. There were many Void Spirit Stage experts in the Netherworld Empire. Although General Feng was said to be the 3rd strongest expert in the Netherworld Empire, Yi Tianyun didn't know whether it was true or not. The Netherworld Empire's overbearing behavior wasn't without reason. Overbearing behavior was certainly backed by an overbearing force, otherwise, the Netherworld Empire wouldn't have been able to act so arrogantly. When he was about to plunder General Feng's belongings, a sharp light pierced through his back. Yi Tianyun immediately felt danger coming from behind, and when he wanted to turn around to attack, a whip lashed at him, and with a pa sound, the sneak attacker was sent flying. You actually dared to kill our general. You're dead for sure. The one who was sent flying was the Wind Divine Soldier. He spat out a large mouthful of blood. After being struck by the whip, the damage he received was not low. Yi Tianyun looked up and saw that the person who helped him deal with the attacker was Yi Qingxian. He didn't expect that Yi Qingxian didn't leave. When she saw Yi Tianyun being attacked, she immediately came out to help. Your Netherworld Empire is the one who is going to die. Yi Qingxuan's eyes turned cold. She whipped the Divine Wind Soldier again. Pa! The Divine Wind Soldier's head exploded. She was clearly a weak woman, but when she exploded out, she didn't hold back at all. If she wanted to kill, she would kill, and she didn't hold back. It should be said that she would never show mercy to her enemies, especially the people of the Netherworld Empire. She hated them to the bone. If it wasn't for the Netherworld Empire, how could the spirit race become like this? Didn't you leave? Why are you back? Yi Tianyun walked over and found that Yi Qingxuan's body was swaying. He supported her and found that her face was frighteningly pale. I originally wanted to go back, but after thinking about it, I decided to stay here and keep an eye on you. If anything happens, I can still help. Yi Qingxian smiled. I didn't expect you to defeat General Feng. You are indeed our king. Did you carve a divine sigil of heaven and earth? Yi Tianyun stared at her, his expression darkening. Yi Qingxuan's cultivation wasn't high, but it wasn't low either. She could still help when necessary. As a member of the spirit race, he had mastered quite a few divine inscriptions. Some of the forbidden divine inscriptions were especially powerful. Yi Tianyun knew that, but it wasn't easy to carve it out. Moreover, It would consume a lot of energy. It was basically an effect that was exchanged for his life. How could he casually carve this out? The spirit race had a very powerful divine sigil called Divine Sigil of Heaven and Earth. It was a divine sigil that every saintess and spirit king had mastered. The entire spirit race could only be controlled by the spirit king and the saintess. According to the grade, this divine sigil of heaven and earth could only be considered as a 5th grade divine sigil. Was a 5th grade divine sigil that high? Of course not. Although there weren't many 5th grade divine sigil masters, there were definitely a lot of them. Most of them could carve this divine sigil of heaven and earth. But the effect was quite strong. Whether it was a weapon, a pellet, or even the body, they could all use this divine sigil of heaven and earth. The effect was simple and violent. It instantly increased the effect by 5 times, and it lasted for the time it took for a joss stick to burn. If it was used on a weapon, it could increase the damage by 5 times. If it was used on a pellet, it could increase the effect by 5 times. If it was used on the body, it could increase the strength by 5 times. It was simple and violent. Not to mention a 5th grade divine sigil, even a Grandmaster divine sigil wouldn't have such a heaven-defying effect. But the more heaven-defying the effect was, the greater the price needed. To carve this divine sigil, one needed to use one's own blood. It could be said that to carve a divine sigil of heaven and earth, it would take half of one's blood. The consumption was especially high. Unless it was a critical moment, no one would do this. This was why they didn't want to spread the news. Other than the rarity of the divine sigil, they were afraid that it would bring great trouble to the spirit tribe. Because only a spirit tribe member could carve this divine sigil. Only the blood of a spirit tribe member would be effective. The blood of a normal person would have no effect. Because of this, a large number of spirit tribe members were captured and not killed. Unless they had no other choice, they wouldn't kill spirit tribe members. The reason was simple. They wanted to use their blood to carve this divine sigil. Knowing this divine sigil wasn't enough. They also needed the blood of a spirit tribe member. That was the most basic requirement. Similarly, everyone in the spirit tribe knew this divine sigil. That would be a great threat to them. They would be forced to use their own blood to carve the divine sigil. Otherwise, they would die. This was like carrying a fortune. How could they not die if they didn't hand it over? Yi Tianyun also knew this divine sigil, but he couldn't use it. But he could keep it and pass it on to other spirit tribe members in the future. This was what Yi Qingxian had thought. If she died, and the ancestor died, no one else would be able to carve this divine sigil. At a critical moment, this could be of some use. If Yi Qingxian used it on herself, she would be able to instantly unleash a powerful force. Even though it wouldn't be as powerful as General Feng, she would at least be able to save Yi Tianyun once she unleashed it. Other than this divine sigil of heaven and earth, there were other divine sigil as well. The spirit tribe's foundation wasn't that simple. She stayed here because she believed that she could help. As long as she risked her life, she might be able to save Yi Tianyun. Luckily, the tragedy didn't happen, so she could still stand in front of Yi Tianyun. But now, she looked like she was half dead. Yes. Yi Qingshuan's face was frighteningly pale. The side effects were starting to show. She had even helped to send an ambusher flying. Didn't I say that I can escape? I won't fight this bastard to the death, Yi Tianyun said in a low voice. Who knows if our king will fight General Feng to the death? Yi Qingxian smiled. But it's good that you're fine. Keep this divine sigil. It's useful to you. Chapter 360. Looking at the heaven and earth divine rune, Yi Tianyun was very touched. When he saw Yi Qingshuan's pale face, he knew something was wrong. Sure enough, it was really to carve the heaven and earth divine rune. If he couldn't win, Yi Qingxian would use it on him to help him. If he was seriously injured and couldn't escape, Yi Qingxian would definitely use it on herself to help him escape. Now that she didn't use it, Yi Qingxian naturally chose to give it to him. But seeing the crimson color on it, Yi Tianyun's heart tightened. He really felt guilty. It's really hard for Yi Qingxian to do this for him. Really, you don't listen to me, forget it, I won't pursue this matter with you. Yi Tianyun motioned her to sit down, and then took out the blood jade. This thing has not been used up yet, there is still more than half of its effect left. This is an absolute rare item, the price in the mall is as high as 1 million crazy points, he really can't bear to use it. Last time, Shueyun used a lot, but there is still more than half left, proving that there is still a lot of it. But as his cultivation gets stronger, the consumption will also increase. In the future, it will reach a terrifying level. Quickly use this blood jade to recover, otherwise it will be detrimental to your future cultivation. Yi Tianyun stuffed the blood jade into her arms and motioned her to quickly absorb it. What kind of treasure is this? I feel that the blood qi is too strong. When Yi Qingxian grabbed the blood jade, she felt a strong blood qi rushing out and drilling into her body, she felt very comfortable. Who cares what kind of treasure it is, as long as it has a good recovery effect? Yi Tianyun said, quickly absorb it and absorb back the blood qi. This treasure is too rare, there are too few treasures that can replenish blood qi, you can keep it. Yi Qingxian pushed the blood jade back to him. Be obedient, use it for me, I am now ordering you as a spirit king, not as a friend, understand? Yi Tianyun said with a straight face. Alright, I'll use it, I'll use it. Yi Qingxian smiled sweetly as she took the blood jade and began to absorb it. As she absorbed it, a thick blood aura quickly entered her body, causing her pale face to turn rosy in an instant. The effect of the blood jade stone was astonishing. It was immediately effective. Yi Qingxuan's complexion had recovered quite a bit after just absorbing for a short while. This is too miraculous. In just a short while, I can feel my blood and qi recovering quite a bit. Where did this come from? I've never seen such a miraculous thing. Even elixirs that can replenish blood essence can't be replenished so quickly. It takes a long time to recover so much. Yi Qingxian was deeply shocked. I found this by chance. Don't worry too much about it. Let's replenish it first. I have a few hundred pieces of something similar. You can absorb as much as you want. Yi Tianyun gestured for her to continue absorbing. In order to make it easier for her to absorb, he lied to her about 100 pieces of blood jade. A few hundred pieces. This is too unbelievable. You lied to me. Yi Qingxian pouted, feeling that something was wrong. What did I lie to you about? Hurry up and absorb it, understand? Yi Tianyun glared at her and said. Alright, alright. Yi Qingxian felt very helpless as she began to absorb. In just a short while, she had absorbed about half of the blood jade stone and replenished the blood essence that she had used. Her entire aura was no different from before. Previously, she looked sickly and could not even walk steadily. It was difficult to replenish such a state even with cultivation. She needed to consume many elixirs and a few years to completely recover. Otherwise, General Long and the others would not be willing to burn their blood essence unless it was the most critical moment. If they were not forced into a corner, they would not be willing to burn their blood essence. It was too difficult to recover. If they overused their blood essence, it would affect their cultivation greatly. That was why they did not dare to use it casually. If they could recover quickly, they would have used it earlier during the battle. In some cases, they would have used it right from the beginning of the battle. There was no need to wait until the end. I have recovered. This thing is really amazing. Yi Qingxian returned the blood jade stone to Yi Tianyun and asked doubtfully, are there really a few hundred pieces? Of course. Yi Tianyun took it with a smile and added, I just don't know where it is. You really lied to me. Yi Qingxian snorted, feeling very dissatisfied. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, alright, don't worry about this. Let's hurry up and leave. If this matter were to spread, it would be difficult for us to leave this place. Alright. Yi Qingxuan's expression darkened. She knew that this was a serious matter. After looting the treasures, Yi Tianyun quickly left with Yi Qingxian. They first went to the spirit tribe's village to check on the situation. By the time they returned, however, the astrals had already been evacuated. Basically everything they could take with them had been taken with them. Everyone in the spirit tribe had a storage ring, so it was very easy for them to take away valuables, including the vital crystal. Apart from that, there was nothing else that could be taken away. It was a pity that the spirit tower could not be taken away. Spirit Tower. Yi Qingxian looked at the Spirit Tower for the last time and sighed. In the end, we still have to leave this place. This is a temporary evacuation. If we destroy the Netherworld Empire in the future, we can still come back. Yi Tianyun comforted her. Yes, destroy the Netherworld Empire. Yi Qingshuan's silver eyes flashed with a cold light. Immediately, they left the place and flew towards the assembly point. When they arrived, all the spirit tribes people were already there. When they saw Yi Qingxian and Yi Qingshuan's return, their faces were full of surprise. The Spirit King is back, the Spirit King is back. They all cried out in surprise. They were relieved to see the Spirit King return. I have something to announce here. The Spirit King has personally killed General Feng and killed a great general of the Netherworld Empire, Yi Qingxian announced as soon as she came up. All of a sudden, everyone was shocked. Then, they burst into cheers as if they wanted to tear this place apart. The Spirit King is too powerful. I said that the Spirit King is not afraid of General Feng. Yes, our Spirit King is invincible. He is the strongest. Nonsense. Weren't you worried that the Spirit King would not be able to escape? I was worried for a while. They shouted one after another, and the popularity of Yi Tianyun has increased a lot, and Yi Tianyun's prestige has greatly increased. Spirit King, I wonder what we should do now? Elder Yang and the others thought about the future after the excitement. Chapter 361. When Yi Tianyun and the others left quietly, General Feng's death shocked the entire Netherworld Empire and the Heavenly Boundary continent. General Feng had led the entire divine armament of wind to perish there. When he sent people to investigate, all they saw was a pile of corpses. There wasn't a single survivor. Since no one had returned, he knew that they had all been killed, which meant that they had failed. Just like General Long, it was a complete failure. General Feng is dead. Both of them are dead. The Netherworld Great Emperor was thoroughly enraged. A terrifying aura spread out in all directions, causing many ministers to tremble and not dare to speak. The Imperial advisor's face darkened. Your Majesty, please allow me to lead a team of celestial masters to destroy the spirit race. Good. Send out the heavenly masters and General Cheng as well. We're going to flatten the spirit race. The Netherworld Emperor was thoroughly enraged. He wanted to personally go and exterminate the spirit race, but since the Imperial Preceptor had said so, he would let the Imperial Preceptor go. He still needed to stay here. Yes, Your Majesty. The Imperial Preceptor did not say a word. After bowing, he quickly left the place, his eyes filled with killing intent. As the Imperial Advisor of the Netherworld Empire, he had to take care of the face of the Netherworld Empire. He had a good relationship with the two generals. Now that they were dead, how could he not be angry? What a blunder. We lost two generals at once. How did General Feng become like this? Even if he can't defeat them, he can still escape. The Netherworld Emperor's eyes were filled with anger. Two of his generals were dead, so he couldn't help but be angry. Especially when he had lost face. The entire empire had lost face. Who is it? I don't believe that the spirit race has such a powerful force. Is it really the Heavenly Dragon Empire? The Netherworld Emperor said in a deep voice. Impossible. The Heavenly Dragon Empire can't even take care of itself now. How can they help? If I find out which force is behind this, I will definitely lead the Netherworld Legion to flatten them. Even if it's the Heavenly Dragon Empire, I will destroy them. The Netherworld Emperor grabbed the dragon throne next to him and crushed it. Bang! The dragon throne turned into powder. Time and time again, things kept pushing his bottom line, which was beyond his expectations. If it weren't for the Netherworld Empire's current problems, he would have personally taken action to flatten the spirit forest. The Imperial teacher brought General Cheng along with him. General Cheng's cultivation was slightly lower, first-level void spirit stage. He had just broken through not long ago. The Imperial Advisor personally led the team to flatten the spirit race forest. This was all for the sake of insurance. If even the Imperial Tutor could not defeat them, then no one would be able to flatten the spirit race. The most important thing was to find out exactly what kind of faction was there. After all, the people they had sent out had not come back to report, so they had no idea what was going on. Soon, they all arrived outside the spirit tribe forest. A group of people stood outside majestically. The Imperial Preceptor looked at the area coldly. I didn't expect that I would have the chance to take action personally. You're dead meat. The Imperial Preceptor sneered and quickly rushed into the spirit race forest. His divine rune level was not low, so he was not afraid of the formation. After a while, the Imperial Preceptor frowned and walked out of the forest. No wonder, this formation is activated to the maximum. There must be a divine rune grandmaster controlling it. It seems like I have to break it. Immediately, the Imperial Preceptor started to set up a formation outside, preparing to break the formation. After carefully studying it for a while, he began to break the maze formation. However, after spending a few days, he finally broke the maze formation. I've broken through the disorienting formation. Everyone, charge. Capture all the spirit race members for me, alive. The Imperial Preceptor shouted and took the lead to charge in. Many people roared and charged in with murderous intent. Everyone was excited. They were finally going to flatten the spirit race. How could they not be excited? When they rushed in, they found that it was empty. There was not a single person inside, and they were immediately dumbfounded. There was not a single spirit race person. All the houses were empty. Everything had been taken away. What's going on? Did they all leave? The Imperial Preceptor was stunned. He immediately denied, impossible. They couldn't have left. If they did, they would be dead meat. The Imperial Preceptor knew a lot about the spirit race. He naturally knew that if they left, they would not be able to reproduce. If they left, they would be dead meat. But now, they had all run away. Search. Search all of them. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you must find them. The Imperial Preceptor was furious and immediately gave the order. Wouldn't this be a wasted trip? It was as embarrassing as running away. Yes. They quickly went to search. Needless to say, they did not find anything. The only thing they could find were the houses. The rest had been taken away. They really left. It seems like they have given up resisting and have chosen to leave. All right, tear down this pagoda, the Imperial Preceptor said coldly. If that's the case, I will tear down this pagoda and burn it down. The Imperial Preceptor was also angry. He ordered everyone to start destroying the pagoda and completely destroy the spirit race. At the same time, Yi Tianyun had already secretly brought people to the Earth border continent. It took him a long time. After all, many people could not fly, so they could only move on foot. To be more accurate, they moved on earth dragons. He caught a lot of earth dragons, which could be used as a means of transportation. Overall, their speed was quite fast. Moreover, they chose a relatively remote area, so generally, no one found them. It was very safe to evacuate from here. In front of us is the Heavenly Jade sect. We will temporarily settle down there. Yi Tianyun looked up and saw the familiar Heavenly Jade sect in front of him. There was no problem. From a distance, he could see many disciples training. The people behind him looked over curiously. They all wanted to see what the residence of their spirit king looked like. Who is it? Elder Yi. When they saw a group of people following behind them, and all of them were riding earth dragons, they were dumbfounded. They had never seen so many dragons before. Their pretty faces were pale with fright. Fortunately, they saw an acquaintance coming, otherwise, they would have sounded the alarm. Well, these are our distinguished guests. Open the door and let us in. Yi Tianyun gestured. Yes, yes. They hurriedly opened the door and let them in. Following Yi Tianyun and a group of people walked in, Shishueyun happened to be outside. When she saw Yi Tianyun, she was stunned.